Camera, ready? All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Bradenton City Council meeting, Wednesday, April 11th at 8:30 a.m. This time, we'll call Pastor Clark Edwards from First United Methodist Church up to give us a prayer. Welcome. Please stand.
Let us pray. Gracious God, we give you thanks for this another day. Thank you for the beauty of this day. We offer our thanks and praise for all of your blessings you give each of us each day. We pray today for the decisions of this council as decisions are made that guide our community. We thank you for their service. We thank you for the opportunity to serve in this community and ask your blessings upon each family. Guide us and direct us to do your will that will add value to the lives of all. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
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 Thank you. Please join us in the prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Mrs. Melton, any proclamations or presentations?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll go to citizen comment. We've got first citizen comment, and we'll take it this time on non-agenda items. Comments on agenda items will be accepted at the appropriate time. First, non-agenda is Willie Green. Please state your name and address for the record.
Wiley Green, 2015 25th Avenue West, Bradenton, Florida.
Sir, just go ahead and say what you have.
Oh, okay, sir. Thank you, Mayor Brown. We wanted to bring up a couple of issues here about some surplus property near a church that I serve. Been there approximately 20 years. We've been maintaining this lot for us cutting it for approximately these 20 years, and we had an agreement with the city as of last year to continue to be able to use it legally, but we want to purchase the land, and it has been a problem for some reason, I don't know. They got plenty of retention ponds on 9th and 10th. So why would they continue to hold this surplus land when we've been a good citizen and do stewardship? Why the church couldn't purchase? The price probably now went from $5,000 to maybe $15,000, and all we continue to hear is we're gonna use it one day for drainage. Why would you want to put a big drainage between two churches? Across the street from this property, they are putting in some housing, so I just couldn't figure out why they wouldn't put the proper drainage in then. So, number two is palm trees and an alleyway between my home. Between the 1800 block and 2200 block of 25th Avenue, I've been dealing with this probably 20 years, even when I worked for the city of Bradenton. Why we can't get that paved, I know money is tight, but again, some of your council persons have alleys behind their houses that have been paved since I worked for the city, and a lot of one-way streets have been paved, so why we just couldn't do this for me and my neighbors? Can't get it cut on a regular service. I have to call 2 or 3 times a year to get it cut. I can't get it cut. I've been waiting now for 9 days. Someone said they allegedly had taken care of it. Then when I called back Monday, I reassured the secretary that it hadn't been done. I made Mr. Keys aware of it, and I talked to Mr. Jim before as well. But again, like I say, 20 years is a long time. We could have been put maybe $10,000 a year for some of the citizens there and add this, and you can find out a way where you maybe don't want traffic in there. You can do that, but over the years for maintaining it is a lot of money.
Okay, maybe what we can do is get your information to Mrs. Melton, and then have the administrator look into it and reach out as quick as possible.
20 years, we've been
I
up and
know.
down this road, sir.
First time I've heard about it, though. So.
Well, some
Yes.
of your other constituents have.
Go ahead, Mr. Roth.
Yeah, thank you. First off, so the surplus property is, where's it located?
1125 8th Avenue East.
25. Okay, not familiar with that.
Well,
And
some
then-
of
and
the
then
other
your-
ward leaders are, so.
Okay, and then the alley, where'd you say it was between?
I talked to you about this. I tried to reach out to you on phone and email. I couldn't get a response. It's the 1800 block to the 2200 block of 25th Avenue West.
25th Avenue West?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and it's the alleyway.
Yes, the alleyway.
saying
It's
it's
a
the
dual,
palm- it's the palm
dual
trees?
relationship between the county and the city, and neither one seems to want to cut it on a regular basis.
Okay, so it's the palm trees that are an issue?
No, the palm trees are on the street right away. The alley is in the back of the property that the city and the county is supposed to maintain.
Okay,
Probably, I think the best thing, Mr. Roth, is to get as much information,
Yeah.
then we can have the proper departments
Mr.
going
Mayor,
out. Yes, ma'am.
if I may,
Yes.
we've spoken, maybe a month or two ago.
Yes, yes.
So I'm somewhat
aware
aware
of it,
of
okay.
one of the first concerns anyway, and the city administrator and I have spoken. He's just 2 weeks on the job, but he and I have spoken, as well as Mr. McClellan and I. So my apologies for not getting back to you with that going on and not letting you know.
Yes.
The palm tree situation, I'm kind of just knowing this or just paying attention, I'm sorry. Ms. Jim, is there anything you can, I mean, I know this is public comment, so I don't know if I should be going back and forth, but.
But we can, let's
We
try
can
to get
just-
it through the chains and as quickly as possible, because obviously that's
Yeah, well, that's
something I believe in.
real long chain, man. Not being offensive to you because you showed me that you do your due diligence. When I reached out to you, no later than an hour or two later, you responded back. So you're on it. I'm just wishing everybody else can show that, like the slogan says, the friendly city. I'm wishing everybody else can do as you doing.
Appreciate it.
I don't want to wait another 20 years.
Nope, me neither, so. All right, well, thank you, and we will follow through, so,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, David Shiplett. Please state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Yep, my name is David Shiplett. I reside at 1503 11th Street West in the Village of the Arts. What I am here to talk about is parking in the village and transportation. I owned a restaurant in the village on the south end, on the north end now for about 6 years. And it's on a dead-end road and there's no parking. So I've accepted the fact that I have no parking, but what happens is you've just got to work really hard, and we've done that. But as far as the village goes, we had parking problems when I came in. And then I was went to meetings about the changeover to the one-side parking, and then we administered a parking attendant that drives around the village. And all through the pandemic, the tickets that were being handed out, they were pretty petty. I can tell you real quick that the villagers do agree on one thing, that what they were wanting was that people didn't park in front of fire hydrants and their driveways and their way that they could access their property. But most of the tickets that are being given out because an 87-year-old woman left her tire up on the curb. And I know there's nothing we can do about it, but that's not solving our problem. We're in a tourist area, and what happens is that people come to me because I'm the most visible person, and they bitch about something that I have absolutely no control over. So what I'm saying is that I believe what we did is exacerbated a situation during a time where we didn't have a parking problem. Parking problem is going to come back. The village is coming back. There's more businesses in the village. I, as someone that contribute to this, rather than to sit back and complain, I want to be part of the answer. I was on St. Armand Circle in 1985, helped build a restaurant. Okay, we had a parking problem on St. Armand Circle, and I pay attention. It's 40 years later, and they still have a parking problem. That's a good thing. So I'm telling you that parking problem is a very good thing. If no one wants to park in my area, that means I don't have people, and I understand that. But at the same time, if we want people to come in and enjoy the village, we have to have things like transportation and parking. I've been researching this for years, a trolley, a pedicab, but I am a cook, and I now own 2 restaurants, and I'm a grandfather. So my time is limited, so all I wanted to do is put in front of you guys that I am contributing to a problem that I'm willing to work with the city on, but so far, what's happened, and because the village is mixed with people that rent and people that own, there's a divisiveness there because the people that own resent the people that rent because they shouldn't have any say. And then there's businesses and there's residents, and they both have. And see, I myself am all 3. I'm a resident, I own a home, I rent, and I own a business. So I'm all of those things. And I don't think I'm telling anybody on the board here anything that you don't know. I just want to keep it in front and tell you that as fall approaches and we do our art walks and we're hoping to bring in thousands of people, I'm anticipating a lot of bitching from people that are getting tickets. And then when we had the art walk and we brought in it got worse, and it gets worse, and I'm just anticipating
All right, thank you.
more problems.
Mr. Roth?
Yeah, thank you, David. I think we spoke a little bit about this. I know that, Dave, so when we, I really wasn't, I live in an older neighborhood where parking is an issue. I really wasn't that supportive of the one side of the street parking because we basically took away parking spots. So, but that being said, it passed. That's the way it works down here. But you've got 2 issues. I'm aware of the parking problem. I'm trying to figure out solutions to that. I know that we haven't had the discussions in a long time of some kind of trolley or something like that to get people in and out of the village from let's say the city parking garage. Maybe we can work on that at the CRA level. But also, I think the other thing you're bringing forward is that you believe that the enforcement is being a little over the top of, it's not necessarily a peak of parking illegally, but improperly. And do we really want to be penalizing people for that? So I don't know, that'll be kind of kind of an enforcement issue.
And we can talk with the chief and see going forward on some of that. And I do think that some of our micro-mobility that we're bringing up with some scooters and different things might help some of that as people come in if we really do it towards a
I
parking
think
garage.
there's
Yeah, the
look at
multi-level.
one thing and go, okay, that's the thing.
No,
I think
that's
it's
one
gonna
of
be
them.
like if we approach it and we do a bunch of different stuff, as the problem grows exponentially, which that's my job, to grow this problem of too many people, that we stay ahead of the curve rather than behind it, which the curve hopefully continues to go up. So
Mr. Sanders?
We have a city parking garage right on the north end of that, and does that not work to have,
it's getting people over, and it's
shuttling them back and forth?
there's a busy road there.
Yeah.
It's a very busy road, and that is the problem. Like if the road between here and there wasn't barely used, and see what we got and what I have at my restaurant in the village is multi-generational. We've got, so moving young people isn't the problem, it's moving grandparents, their 40-year-old kids and their grandkids. So it's like when you move people like that, you have to keep that in mind. And I think the village's survival and the Riverwalk is multi-generational. And I think you have to approach the problem that you're going to solve a problem for an 88-year-old person as well as a 2-year-old person and everything in between. So the parking garage works great. What we got to do is work for a way to get.
Get it transported back and forth, yeah. And you got any ideas? I mean,
No, I mean, yes, I do, and I've been researching the trolley, and I don't want to take too much time, but I think that the trolley could be just the beginning, and I see that if we can start moving and we create dialogue, because I know what it costs per hour to run a trolley. I've looked into it, like with 3 different trolley people that have gone and made all the mistakes, and I can learn from their mistakes. But I think there's a triangle from the hotels and the Riverwalk to us down to the end of the Riverwalk and back. That's what I see as long-term, which is a whole nother thing, but moving people around the city like they do on the island. People love to go to the island because they can park their car and go.
maybe you should apply for a license.
And that's something I think with our study that was done, the scooters will solve a part of that triangle.
Yeah.
But then those are going to be all day. Then it comes down to And some businesses actually work together to get those trolleys, but I think there's opportunity with the city, the CRA, and the community to do it. But now that we're back out of COVID, it's a good problem to have. Now let's work it. So I think that's a great job. So we appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate it, yeah, and as I went to Manatee High School, was born at Manatee Memorial, and I'm never been more proud to be in this city. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Appreciate it. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Andrew Schroeder, 1302 13th Avenue West. Just wanted to kind of piggyback off what Dave said. And Bill, you mentioned the parking garage on, I believe that's on 12th Street. I believe you all know that that parking garage is way underutilized. I've personally never parked in there, but I've never seen it full. I walk by it all the time. I walk around the city, walking downtown and back, and I think implementing some of these things that we've been talking about could see that parking garage used more. But yeah, it's certainly underutilized because it's, as of right now, with the circumstances that are given to that parking garage, it's underutilized. And it's not in a great location. It's kind of too far away.
Yeah.
It's in the middle of the city, but it's like too far away from anything. But, you know, it's not something I'm not telling you to bulldoze it or anything. I'm just saying that we can implement some of these things to see that parking garage used more. That's all.
I think we put a sign on it. I haven't really passed since there, but it says parking for the village. But and it's not the distance, it's only a block. But getting people to do it, some incentive, but having the transport back and forth is the issue.
I think it's a little further than you think. It's
Is
a
it?
block from.
Maybe it's 2 blocks. I don't know.
It's 2 blocks from the north side of the village.
Right.
It's
Oh,
it's
well.
5 blocks away from
Well,
the
yeah.
middle of the village. I mean, you're talking about if somebody wants to go and walk the entire length of the village, I mean, that's a 10-block plus round trip. And, you know, we're not New York City. That's nothing in New York City. But I'm just with the older folks and the demographic that I see here, it's a bigger difference. It's a bigger distance than you would think. So.
Right. I agree. But there's no opportunity for parking in there for some lots available. Find us some lots.
We've been talking about that. So,
I remember we had, and this was a couple of years ago, where there was an event, and we had big golf carts that were kind of taking people from, I remember parking in that garage, and they would take you to the village. Yeah, I mean, it could work, but
Seafood Festival moved.
is that what it was?
Seafood Festival moved because they were down there. All right, Mr. Shipley, you want to, it's hard to kind of, we want it to be on the TV, so.
That's what really, because I was worried, because I had never seen my town do multiple events at once, because normally if there was one event, there could not be another event, because everyone would be at one event. And on that day, I rode my bicycle down, because I had never seen the Seafood Festival, and they were set up at the Seafood Festival, and they moved the farmer's market over to the village. And when I went to the village, I thought there was going to be no one at the village, but the village was packed. And the reason why they were packed is because they were taking a trolley and going, and I was watching them going, so this is not an original idea I had. I watched our city do this, and that was a long time ago.
I parked in that garage.
And I realized you can get people around the city, and it ain't that far. And that worked, and we were all busy.
Well, one of the things that I'm going to comment, it may not be the most popular comment in the world, but sometimes that's the businesses in an area that get those golf carts to work together. So maybe like the Guild, the Village of the Art, the city, the CRA. So it's not one person.
Well, there's
Fighting
the
it
second
off, so.
part is to get them to the village,
Right.
but I think what he's bringing up about moving them around the village,
Oh,
I
yeah.
do agree that might be something that we need to. That's why I've looked at pedicabs and all kinds of ways, because it is a great way to see the village, and it is a
Oh,
great
it
way
is,
for
and-
older people, because like you said, when I send people to the other end of the village, that's a long way to go.
And if you drive through the village, you don't get the flavor of the village. If you go there on an art walk, which I've been to several and we've talked, it's a totally different picture. So, you know, and I think the biggest thing is get you to the central part of it, and then you're going to walk the rest of it. But if we can figure that out, it's about movement, and I think it's a great idea. But, and again, everybody up here knows me, it's not a great idea 3 years from now. It's a great idea how quick we make it. And but we've got to do it right, and again, I think that may end up being more of a CRA thing when you come down to it, to really guide that. That's just
Well, it's not a new thing, and I've seen a lot of mistakes made, and I think watching other people make mistakes is very beneficial.
Yeah, thank you, appreciate it. All right, moving on with citizen comments, we've got Jackie and Sven Ekstrom, okay.
Good morning, my name is Jackie Ekstrom, and I am a property owner at 1103 9th Avenue West. I wanted to talk to you today. It's really a issue of like safety and security more than anything. So I am a licensed clinical social worker in private practice right there at 1103 9th Avenue West. It's on the north border of the Village of the Arts, across from City Fitness kind of area. In my building, in addition to my office, I have three tenants, 2 other mental health professionals, and 1 esthetician. These are all businesses that are kind of intimate in nature and really kind of require, or our clients expect, kind of safe and secure environment. So we have owned that building now for 4 years, and over the years, there have been several incidents that we've had to deal with, whether it was homeless folks camping out in our front porch and our back porch. We've had plants stolen and damaged. We've even had our doormat stolen 3 times. And so these are just kind of tedious things that we've dealt with. We kind of expected that when we moved in, and so we've dealt with it. However, the incidents now are escalating, and they're becoming a little bit more egregious in nature. So in May, for example, we had a man have quite an intense psychotic episode in our parking lot. It was in the middle of the day. I had someone in my office in session, and I had a client who had just arrived who was in her car. She could not leave her car because he was rolling around the parking lot, screaming, yelling profanities right outside her car, and she couldn't leave. So now I've had 2 sessions interrupted by this incident. I did stop the session because of safety. I called the Bradenton PD. They were wonderful. They came out. They dealt with the issue. The man was not arrested, but they did come and address the issue. Subsequent to that, we've continued to have incidents where people will defecate on our property, and I cannot tell you how it feels to get out there and clean up someone else's feces on a property that not only that we own and have taken very good care of, but we really have pride of ownership in that property. And we do participate in the trespassing program. Whenever it's been appropriate, we have called the Bradenton PD, and they have responded, but it's getting to the point where it's really feeling kind of defeated, powerless in a situation that there's nothing seemingly that we can do about other than call. And so yesterday, once again, we called, and the police officer came. He was terrific, but there are limits to what he could do in that situation. I do have video because we have cameras on our property, and it's really quite amazing. It's the middle of the day, and this individual is choosing to defecate on my property. Now, I have clients that come in with their own mental health situations, and it's kind of off-putting to see somebody in a parking lot defecating. My business works by referral primarily, so this is not helpful. So I lastly want to say, I don't want to get too stuck on homelessness, not homelessness, or explaining to me the issues of homelessness. I am a social worker. I understand. To me, this is an issue of either management, resources, lack of innovation. I don't know. Homelessness is going to be around. I just want to know, how do we address this? I'm a business owner. I'm trying to be productive. What do we do?
Ma'am, what was your address again?
1103 9th Avenue West.
I agree with you, and it's a problem. I'm on the Suncoast Coalition for the Homeless, which is Manatee and Sarasota County. And some of these issues are very tough to deal with. And you talk about somebody that doing their business in their parking lot. I have them doing it in my city's parking space here. So, and then the guy actually was mad at me because I made him move to put my car in this building. So, and I can talk to you later about it if you want to call or email me or something. But I agree with you. It's a constant problem, and we do have good service from law enforcement, but there's only so much they can do. So, I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you. Mr. Roth?
Yeah, thank you for coming in. We spoke, and I explained that this is there's several issues here. One, you know, the issue of homelessness is a big issue. I mean, I've said this up here on this dais for, well, since 2006 when I was sworn in, that, you know, unfortunately, the city, the homeless services, you know, are located in the county, in the city, but it's a county-wide service. And one of the things that I think needs to happen is, I've been preaching this for a long time, the county needs to reach out and do more homeless services. There should be a service center in South County, down around the Televast area, because there's a large amount of homeless there. There should be a service center in the North County. But for some strange reason, for all these years, it stayed located in the central area. Now, city's done a lot to work with improving the services. They used to be stretched all the way up and down 14th Street. We worked on getting it into the one-stop center, which does a great job of helping people who are transitional homeless. We can get them back onto the workforce quickly, but we're dealing with other issues. So that's a big issue we're going to have to delve into. I think that's probably a big topic of discussion. The other one is, you're talking about unlawful behavior. You know, it's right on the verge of you know, the Village of the Arts, downtown, and I think this is kind of an enforcement issue that we can work with. We certainly don't want a business, you know, going out of business because of something that's unlawful. You know, I mean, so I think that the bigger thing that can be done immediately that you're bringing forward, and I asked you to come in here today, is I think we need to step up enforcement. This is not homelessness that you're complaining about as much as unlawful, defecating in public is unlawful.
And it's also
anywhere.
a safety issue. I mean, you know, my tenants, it's not just one business, there are 4 businesses here. And my tenants are having to start slowly but surely grappling with this. I mean, one of them was confronted the other day by a man on our front porch. It's becoming a safety and security issue, not only at a hygiene level of, I don't know, you know, feces is not exactly the best thing out there for health, but it is really a safety issue. I do not want my tenants or our clients confronted in any shape or form. And even worse is that they're going to start going, you know what? I'd rather not go to your office. That will be a killer to our businesses. So I implore you to please look into this further. I know I'm not the only business dealing with this, and I really would love to stay here. I own 2 homes in the city of Bradenton, plus this business. We're invested here, we're here. But this is getting to be a little bit much to deal with.
Okay, and thank you. And
Thank you for your time and for listening.
we'll make sure that the chief and deputy chief, assistant chief, do a little bit more on it, too.
Thank you very
So,
much.
Thank you. All right, Glenn Gebelina. You know the routine.
I sure do. Glenn Giblina for the record, 7110 28th Street East. And I understand their concerns. I had lunch at the Bird Rock yesterday, and I did illegally park on the opposite side of the street, but I did leave a note on the neighbor and said I'd move my car if I needed to. So I understand that thing. Phone calls. You know, I still think we need to phone call in here. I mean, everybody does it. Council of Governments, I called in. School board can call in. County can call in. Think about it. You know, there's a house that blew up down the street from Ward Temple, and it's still there. So maybe we can get the fire department to condemn that and get rid of it. It's an eyesore. I want to talk about policies and procedures. So back in June 16th, Gene and I had a meeting, and I said, I have no problem on your decision, but let's be honest about it. That's all. Just be upfront. So here we have today, the upper half of this is the part of the letter that says, I feel it's important to give other citizens opportunity to become board members. That was policy 6 weeks ago. Apparently that's changed, because today we have a reappointment of the same advisory board that I did not get reappointed to. So I'm just saying that policy needs to be tweaked. Don't sit on the fence. I mean, the people that are coming up for reappointment, are they going to get a Glenn letter? Or are they going to get a Selena letter? It's not fair to them. Let me tell you how the county does it. We had seats open at the county. There were 12 applicants. And they were open to all the board members. They weren't funneled through the chair or like you have here, the mayor. So on my seat, you know, we had Shannon Glasgow, great guy. President of U.S. Fence, owns 400 rental properties. Good fit for my seat. However, at the end of the day, the board decided 7-0 that I was a better fit, that I was a good vice chair, and although both candidates were worthy of the position, I was chosen unanimously. We did find a position for him in seat 11, so we did fill the board. That's good governance. I think anybody that applies for an advisory, you people should be aware of it. And I think the mayor should just throw all the applicants out there and say, look, you guys make a choice and do that. So, you know, we had a problem yesterday. And again, we had a employee with the county interfering with the process. And that didn't go well. So I did a 20-page report. It's on YouTube yesterday. But basically, we had a department head that wanted to get rid of me because I'm a transparency and accountability guy, and they got too close to nonprofit with the department head, and I called them out on it. So I'll be happy to do a report here. I think we've got a little bit of that going on. But again, the policy needs to change. Don't flip-flop between a Glenn letter or a Celine letter. I think everybody has the opportunity to let the board decide. Gene, I think you're going to be a great mayor. You are a great mayor. I respect you. But I just think the policy and the procedure is not fair to all the applicants. You know, we had 9 applicants for 1 seat. And by the way, last year, I went to the other 8 and suggested they come here. So think about it.
Thank you, Glenn.
Don't go away. So I saved you for last.
Last time I answered questions, I got
I saved you
chewed up.
for last. We're on agenda items now, consent agenda item 5C and D.
Yes, that was exponential funds for, I think one was for $8,000 and one was for, I think, $12,15. That's a good use of that money. We need to see more of that. And I think as that department head goes through and does that, I think that we need to move forward. You know, we're going to have a real big problem on transitional housing. I can tell you that right now. The moratorium was extended for 60 years. People don't want to get thrown out of their homes, so maybe they need to fix them up for the bank so that maybe they have to remortgage it, but it's going to be a real mess. The only constructive criticism I would have with those funds is that you have Habitat and then you have the city. You have the left hand and the right hand. You each have your priorities, and the city is giving money to Habitat for maybe overlapping those priorities. I think there needs to be a filter with the people that come to the city and say, I need help. I need my roof fixed. My plumbing needs to be fixed. I think those folks that come to the city should have a priority of those funds. And then whatever left over, or if they can coordinate with Habitat and say, you know what, I couldn't find 3 contractors to get this roof. I know you guys do roofers, so part of that $211,000 we give you, we need to incorporate our guys here that come to the city, our citizens that come to us first. You need to some way segue into those two missions. They have a common goal. I just think that the people that come to the city first should get a priority over funds before it goes to Habitat. And quite frankly, a lot of those do overlap. But again, there's no transparency and accountability. I think your 2 departments need to get together with Habitat and go over the list. There's a waiting list, I think, of 25 right now at the city, and the Habitat is going to do their own thing. But I just think that the communication between the 2 organizations could be tweaked. I think the citizens that come to the city should have a priority. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn.
All right, any other citizen comments? All right, moving on, consent agenda. Any questions? I hear a motion to approve.
Move to approve the consent agenda at this time.
Second, all right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, we'll start the vote in Ward 5.
Yes.
1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4.
Yes.
Thank you, carries 5-0. All right, business advertising, I guess we have to administer the oath.
Yes, sir.
Anyone wishing to address City Council during the following public hearing will stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the factual statements and representations which you are about to present to this board will be truthful and accurate? Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Singer?
First item on the agenda is SU 212907, request by Trevor Green, agent for Brian Kimball, owner of for a special use permit to extend an existing residential boat dock from 80 feet to 180 feet long into the Manatee River. The property is in the T40 General Open Zoning District, General Urban Open Zoning District, and is located at 219 18th Street Northwest, Bradenton, Florida. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Myra.
Thank you.
Council members, Myra Schwartz, Senior Planner. I have a brief presentation. By now you're familiar with docks more than you probably want to be. Robin gave the introduction and the address, 219 18th Street Northwest for SU 212907. The applicant is Trevor Green of Green Marine Construction Incorporated. He is present today. He is the agent for owner Brian Kimball. The request is for a special use permit to extend an existing private dock into the Manatee River. The existing dock is 80 feet long, which is up to code. The existing structure is to be extended by 100 feet to include a 4 by 80 foot access way and a 10 by 20 terminal platform with a boat lift to total 180 feet into the Manatee River. The purpose is to better access navigable water while providing a safe dock. The property does have riparian rights. This is a dock that's to the rear of the property, immediately adjacent to the Manatee River. And there was no prior special use needed for the original construction. It was permitted and constructed in 2006. The new dock extension will have a total coverage, or the complete dock will have a total coverage over the submerged lands of 1,000 feet. The side setback requirements will meet or exceed the minimum requirement by land use regulations of 10 feet. And there's an existing terminal platform at 80 feet of length, which will remain in place. Here's a location map. You can see that the property is located in Point Pleasant at the northwest corner here. There are several other docks, some shorter, some longer. This is a newer one that does extend at an identical length, actually, to the proposed dock. The future land use of the property is residential high density, and the zoning is T40 General Urban Open. Why is a special use required here? A special use permit is required because the requested dock extension doesn't meet the following dimensional requirements of section 5.1.2.14 of the land use regulations. In a public waterway, the maximum length of any dock shall not exceed 80 feet or 25% of the width of the waterway, or closer than 25 feet to the center of any public channel, whichever is less. At a prior meeting with a dock request, we did have some discussion about why is there a 80-foot maximum length, and planning had thought that it was an arbitrary length, and Councilwoman Barnaby brought to our attention there was a history of rowers, and correct me if I'm wrong, there was a history of rowers in the Manatee River. Now they're in South and
Fort Hamer.
Thank you, and Benderson also, and we don't see the rowers anymore, and so the 80 feet has become an arbitrary number at this point. With the Manatee River, the sediments are building, and there is a need for extensions. You see them too frequently. So the length of the dock here, as I said, is identical to a neighboring dock. Once it is extended, and the distance is the minimum required for the applicant to reach navigable waters and is consistent with the neighboring docks, as you can see. This is the site plan that that Trevor has provided for us. You can see the dimensions. He's got plenty of setback here, 35 feet on one side, 15 to the boat lift on that side. Land use regulations, 3.3.3.1, state general standards for docks requiring a special use permit. Now, while this does speak to docks that extend from public right-of-way, which this is not, it also speaks to any dock that requires a special use for whatever reason. Several of these are not applicable to this request. Setbacks as specified by Department of Environmental Protection must be complied with in the dock design, a minimum of 10 feet. Well, this has changed since the writing of the land use regulations. We are not the same as FDEP anymore. They have more stringent regulations. So our 10 feet has also become sort of an arbitrary number. The dock is designed to meet or exceed the minimum setback of 10 feet from the extension of the side property line. So it does meet our code, and it will meet FDEP. The property owner will sign a grant of easement that is not applicable. The dock pier or appurtenance will be compatible and appropriate with adjacent properties or other properties within the district. The dock is similar in design, as you can see from the diagrams, to the neighboring docks, and they're all used for private recreational boating from single-family homes. The applicant does state that the extended length is necessary to access a greater water depth for enjoyment of the dock. The dock, pier, or appurtenance must be approved by DEP prior to issuance of a building permit. FDEP self-certification approval or exemption would be provided prior to the commencement of construction. This is required by Florida statute, FS 166.033, number 5. We can no longer require a permit from a higher agency in order to permit this. So we can require that they have it prior to construction, however, and that's typically done. That's standard done. Other review criteria subject to all special uses, general standards 3.3.3.1. There are a few that apply to docks or that we can apply to docks. Utilities in regard to location, availability, adequacy, and compatibility with surrounding properties. Any addition of electricity, water, or any service that's provided by the city will have to be appropriately permitted. And this would include right-of-way permitting by Public Works. That's not applicable in this case because it is from the rear, but again, permitting would be required. Screening, buffering, or separation of any nuisance or hazardous features of the use. There's no nuisance or hazardous features that will require buffering from adjacent properties. It meets the appropriate setback. Proposed signs and exterior lighting with reference to glare, traffic safety, and compatibility and harmony with surrounding properties. Any lighting that's installed will be according to FDEP requirements and will be appropriately permitted through the city. Effect upon the value of surrounding properties. The use shall not hinder the development of nearby vacant properties or adversely affect their economic value. A dock in good working order can only enhance the property values of the property itself and the neighbors. Staff is recommending approval. Staff feels that the applicants met all of the requirements for a special use permit and is recommending approval of SU 21-2907 with 2 stipulations. 1, that the dock must be kept in good working order and condition to not degrade from the value of nearby properties. And, another one, sorry. 2, all applicable state or federal permits are to be obtained before commencement of development. Any conditions associated with the required FDE permit will be met at time of construction. So I review the permits that come in, and so this is a requirement. It will be flagged, and if they don't have the DEP permit at time of permitting, then it'll be flagged for to be checked when it starts construction. Planning Commission met on July 21st, 2021, and they unanimously recommended approval with the same stipulations recommended by staff. I don't believe I need to read those again, and I'm available for any questions, and Trevor is here as well.
Mr. Roth?
Yeah, thank you. So I remember it wasn't that long ago that we approved the longer dock. And at that time, there was a lot of concern from neighbors that it was going to obstruct their view and all that. We went ahead and did it because you can obviously see where the water, the water depth, you need to get out to the water depth for a bigger boat. What I am a little concerned about this one in particular is that it looks like they're using the existing dock with a platform and boat lift and then putting in a second platform and boat lift. Is that true? They're just gonna keep the one that's there?
I believe they are keeping the one that's there. Is that right, Trevor? Yes. Yeah.
What I'm concerned about is setting a precedent of this continuing, because now you literally have two docks. And I know that, I mean, it wouldn't, looking at different ways that could turn into a problem is, you know, someone leases out the first dock to a friend or something like that, and you're getting more and more traffic into a highly condensed residential neighborhood. I mean, I'm just, you know, beware of the unintended consequence is my concern, that I think in the past we've had when people come in and put out a longer dock, we allow them to put out a longer dock and not keep the first dock, which is, you know, I mean, it's just my opinion, but basically we're allowing two docks here, and there was concern about obstruction of view and all that. Well, one could say if that existed with one dock, it now is doubled by two docks. So.
Thank you, and I think what maybe Mr. Green can address that when he comes up too, pros and cons.
Once we get
maybe
into.
at that time. So, any other questions, Mrs. Copeland?
Yeah, that kind of was a question I had, and I've seen this in some other places outside of the city where people are building docks and they're not for the use of that property. And then they almost have like a little tent set up when they come down from Tampa. I am a little bit concerned about subletting. I don't know how we address any of that, but I am a little concerned that could get out of hand, especially with having a second dock. So then if everybody that has a dock is now going to have a second dock, I'm all for helping everybody have a boat that they can use, but I just don't know if we need to address it, not necessarily on this, but.
You set a precedent.
Mm-hmm.
I understand your concern. In this particular case, you all know the neighborhood. This is, I doubt that would happen in this neighborhood, but I see that your point for setting a precedent, your special uses, if you did see two docks, they'd be before you as a special use. It's on a case-by-case basis. You have the right to make your decisions. There is nothing in our land use regulations that prevents it.
So this doesn't actually create two docks, it just creates one longer dock with two
terminals.
areas to have boat lifts or boats, and that's a great concern. I agree with what you're saying from that standpoint. So, I mean, the stipulation could be that we could extend it, but only allow it to have one area that has boats on.
Well, I'd like to hear what.
Yeah, so that would be a solution to that. But, all right, so why don't we open, at this point, Scott, open the public hearing, and then we can have Mr. Green come up and discuss it. So, all right, so at this time, we'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak, please come forward. And I got a card for Mr. Green already, so you might as well come forward. And you've heard some of the concerns. Maybe you can answer some of that. So.
Okay, good morning, Trevor Green, and the address is 812 45th Avenue East, Ellington. So as far as the concern for the second boat lift, our plan in this one here, that boat lift in closer to shore, we're converting it for kayaks and paddle boards. And so we're going to actually put a platform on that lift that they can load kayaks and paddle boards in and out, because that water right there is only about a foot deep. That's the reason for extending the dock. Then he can move his boat out there to make it more usable, because right now there's probably 50% of the tides he can't get his boat on and off the lift. So that's the reason for extending the dock out, so that he does have proper water depth for the boat, and then that lift is staying so that they can have paddle boards, kayaks, and still be able to use them in the shallow water. And in my opinion, it's no different than the one we did to the south of there, where we put two boat lifts out at the end of it, and the exact same thing. They've got their main boat lift, and then the other one on the inside of the terminal platform has two jet skis on it that are all the homeowners. There's no, I can certainly say there's no intentions of them renting anything out and having outside parties come in. That's for sure not going to happen.
All right, any questions? All right, thank you. All right, anyone wishing to speak? Anyone else wishing to speak? All right, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Comments? Motion?
So, since there was two concerns from two council people with the same idea, moving forward in the future, you know, like I said, I hate to create a precedent that, okay, so knowing shallow waters and everything like that, I can understand his, you know, theory on kayaks and paddle boards, so that's fine. But how would we, moving forward, can we encourage people when they want to extend their dock, that we want them to, you know?
You could put a stipulation on this one
Right.
as well as if you wanted to eliminate that also.
That's correct. I mean, you could stipulate this one, but since our land use regulations doesn't prevent it for a normal dock that meets 80 feet, if it comes through and it doesn't come to your presence, someone could put 2 platforms on it. Unless it's in the land use regs, there's nothing we can really do to prevent it unless it comes in front of you.
But this is a special permit here, right?
That's a special use permit, yes.
Most of them that come forward on us are, because this is a new trend. This is not the first dock extension I've been doing in the last
Are
decade.
you speaking? I'm having a hard time
So-
hearing you, and I'm right next to you. Thank you.
So, moving forward, can we be aware that there are at least 2 council people concerned about, look, it's not that this person's gonna do the wrong thing. It's the next person, and then the next person, and then the next person. And once we open the door, there's no closing the door. So, I'd say that can we add to this that first dock is gonna be used for paddle boards and kayaks? Can we put
Certainly.
that in there?
Or would it
Certainly.
be better non-motorized, something?
I like sticking with paddle, the man just told us paddle boards and kayaks. I like sticking with that.
But what if they want to put a jet ski there?
Yeah, and that's what you've got at the other one.
Huh?
At the other one, you basically have the same thing at the other special use that you've permitted. It's just
Yeah,
where it was located on there.
Right, well, the thing, for the first one, I mean, I don't think you were on the council at the time, were you? So the concern was, from the neighbors, was obstruction of view, and so it just makes sense if there's one obstruction of view, 2 obstruction of views is more than 1. So, you know, yeah, there is, but now 2 platforms and 2, I mean, we can argue, you know, about whether 1 is 2 or 2 is 1, but it's pretty obvious there's 2 platforms and 2 docks, you know, with an extension. So, I mean, I'm just looking for a way of not pinning us into a hole on this one enterprise, you know, how we can, because this is going to happen up and down the river. I mean, we have another dock extension that I'm going to be talking about in a few minutes, where we're going out to 1,930 feet.
Yeah, I'm doing
Well, okay, so, I mean, so you know, I'm going to be questioning the 930 feet. So my goal is to protect everyone, not just this one guy not just this one person. Look, I want everyone to enjoy the water. They bought waterfront property, a lot of dock. I want, you know, I don't believe I've ever turned down a dock permit, but I also want to protect the property owners,
Right.
you know, on either side and down, even down the road, because once you start putting something out 1,000 feet, well, you're 10 houses down, you know, that's something new.
Yeah, well, that's the next project.
I know.
And as far as this one's concerned, I don't really understand the thought of it being 2 docks. It's still 1 dock. There's the existing dock. The one we did to the south of there, right next door, there was no dock existing there. That was all brand new construction. I know one homeowner did have an argument of it blocking his view of the river, which was overruled, but this one here is going to have no additional use than what the one to the south has. It's still just 1 dock starting from the seawall. It goes out to the existing location where there's an existing lift. Yeah, I'd like to, I mean, there's a possibility he could someday get a jet ski of some sort or something along those lines. So I'd prefer to not limit it to only motorless boats for the closer boat lift. But it's still only 1 dock. It's 1 dock with 2 boat slips, which DEP allows, you know, up to 2 slips, you know, for
Right.
single-family residence docks. So I don't see the reason why this would be any different than any other dock that we would put in that would have 2 boat lifts at the end, which there's countless docks on the river that have 2 boat lifts on the end, which they're not marinas, you know, they're not being rented out, they're not, you know, they're just a single family owner, you know, single family use.
On the end. So what we're creating here is a dock and a platform and a lift. And then we're running it out and creating another dock and a platform and a lift. So it is, you know, technically, you know, it's no different than a dock with the boat lifts on the end and everything, except for you're creating 2 platform areas.
Well, we're creating
if you were,
second, yeah.
if
The other
you
one's
were,
existing, we're just, that dock's
I
still
know,
in good
I know.
working order, so we're not tearing it down and redoing it.
my job is to protect the
Right,
citizens as a whole.
right.
Yours is to get this permitted. I get it. So I'm just voicing my opinion because once we open this door, it's my experience that the door is now open. So
I'm failing to understand what door we're opening. Like, I get it that it's, you're concerned with people renting it out, but that's.
well, no, and it's
I don't see how this
just,
one would
it's
be any
just that,
different than any other single-family residential dock.
right. And if you, so you understand, if this proposed extension was that you were going to go ahead and take it all the way out and have the platform with 2 lifts on the end, I wouldn't be saying this right now, okay? It's not about the fact that there's 2 lifts, okay? That's not my problem, is that we're creating a dock, we're using the existing dock halfway, and then creating another whole apparatus, you know, at the end. That's where I'm kind of caught up. It's like, if this were, we're gonna redo the dock and just put everything on the end, well, that's kind of where we are, but I'm just concerned about, and maybe not in this one here, but, you know, down the road, in another neighborhood, where someone does this, and then sets up, you know, an area where it's not in a foot of water, and then before you know it, he's got 2 different platforms, and he only needs one, some other neighborhood, some other owner, and then all of a sudden, you know, I mean, we're dealing with short-term rentals, you know, is another issue. People are always looking for a way to augment their income. It's not that this is a problem, it sets a precedent, and it does set a precedent, sir. I mean, when you come in here for special use, it sets a precedent. You might not think it does, but it does.
Yeah, I understand.
So I have to consider that, so.
Ms. Coker?
I know my concern, you just brought up a great point. DEP will only allow 2, so
I
that,
believe it's 2 per single-family residential dock.
and is there some kind of limitation?
Without special approval
And
from
is,
them.
is there some kind of limitation about the coverage of the dock as far
It's
as?
up to 1,000 square feet requires a self-certification.
Okay.
Through DEP. Once you exceed 1,000 square feet, then you start getting into their general permits.
Okay, well then, my concern has been kind of covered with that then, so,
Yeah, there's nothing on this that wouldn't be covered by a DEP self-certification.
okay.
Okay. All right, so thank you. So the chair will entertain a motion.
I move that we approve, oh, my glasses, SCU .21.2907 with 2 stipulations.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Can we
The
can we
2 that she had
stipulate
mentioned in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the ones that were mentioned.
Okay. I think
Which
that
were,
needs to
could
be.
you repeat them?
Can you put them back up on for us? Thank you.
The 2 stipulations are that the dock must be kept in good working order and condition to not degrade the value of nearby properties, and 2, all other applicable state or federal permits are to be obtained before commencement of the development. Any conditions associated with the required FDEP permit will be met at time of construction.
Is that what you meant,
Yes.
Ms. Coachman? Because somebody else had some stipulations that they said.
No, I don't believe they added that third
Okay,
stipulation, because it's
okay, I just want
always-
to make sure that it
it's
was
already
clear
within
what
regulations.
those stipulations, because
Not
Mr.
additional.
Roth added some stipulations.
I did not add them as stipulations.
Well,
just
it was mentioned.
Discussion.
Okay.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll start the vote in Ward 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3.
I'll go ahead and vote yes on this, but I am concerned, and I would like staff to just be aware of this in the future.
Thank you. 4?
Yes.
5?
Yes.
Carries 5-0. All right. The next one, Myra? You want to have Mrs., I know Mrs. Singer read the other one into the record. You want to have Mrs. Melton read it into the record? We kind of jumped there and I let it just keep going, so it's fine. But Mrs. Melton?
This is for SU.212909, request by Trevor Green, agent for Charles Thomas, owner, for a special use permit to extend an existing residential boat dock from 580 feet to 930 feet long into the Manatee River. The property is R1, single-family residential zoning district, and is located at 3402 Riverview Boulevard, Bradenton, Florida, 34205. Parcel ID number 3547000609.
Thank you.
And again, Myra Schwartz, Senior Planner, to give you a presentation on this dock request. The request is, as Ms. Melton read, for an extension to an existing dock, another one, a second one today. The applicant is requesting a special use permit to extend an existing private dock into the Manatee River. And he's asking a second request to recognize an alternate riparian line as permitted with the original special use. The existing dock is 580 feet long. The existing structure is to be extended by 350 feet to total 930 feet in length. The purpose is to accommodate a sailboat with its keel, and that boat requires 6 feet of water depth. And as you know, the river has its sediments. It does require going out some distance in order to accommodate a sailboat in these waters. We don't see them as much here. There's to be 2 10-inch diameter pilings placed at the new terminus. An alternate riparian line was permitted with the original dock, and it's to be continued with the extension. The alternate is more fitting to an angular shoreline. It's one that is different from our requirement. Our requirement is a simple extension of the side property lines in the land use regulations. The property does have riparian rights. It's immediately adjacent to the Manatee River at the rear of the property. A special use SU 18-2903 was approved in 2018 for the original dock, and this request is considered an expansion of the original special use. The dock extension will create a new total coverage over submerged lands of 3,860 square feet, and as we discussed with the prior, this will mean FDEP permitting. Side setback requirements meet or exceed the minimum requirement of 10 feet with the alternate riparian rights line. And there is an existing terminal platform, like before, at the 580-foot length, and this is to remain in place. Your subject parcel, you can see, is on the west end, Riverview Boulevard. You see that there are a number of docks in this location that extend because the sediments are quite shallow for some distance into the river here. It's the future land use here is residential low density, and the zoning district is R1 single family. Special use expansion permits required because the requested dock extension will increase the length of the dock by 60%, and there's a threshold for special uses of 20% in an expansion. The length of the dock, you can see in this graphic. Here's the original dock. It's quite long as it is, but it does give the owner access to navigable waters. Adding the 350 feet will bring it out to your 930 feet. This is the minimum that is stated by the owner required to accommodate his sailboat and the keel. Here's a general site plan. You can see the length here. This is the existing terminal. There is not to be another terminal platform on this one because it's for a sailboat. It's going to be moored on pilings. The riparian line, the difference in the riparian line is very, very minimal, and I have a diagram to show that a little bit later on. Let's see, backwards. Here we go. So this is a diagram from FDEP's website. It shows how riparian lines are measured in a general way, taking the perpendicular to the line of the channel. And that means that you're going to have some deviations here. It doesn't make a lot of sense when you have a shoreline that varies to do an extension, a straight extension of your sidelines. And so we have made this request in several docks in the past because of the nature of the shoreline. This one, although the property is more straight, it does have a little divot that goes up, and it creates a riparian line that gives a little bit more of an extension and then honors the others. The purpose of this is to ensure that all property owners with riparian rights will maintain some kind of access from the shoreline. This is a diagram of the shoreline. You can see here's the property line, and so there's this teeny little divot that goes up, and it creates a different type of line here, but it's very minimal because this is a very small angle. But when you're talking about a dock that long, it's going to deviate. The land use regulations, again, we'll go through these kind of quickly and how this particular request meets them. The general standards for special use docks, the ones that are applicable are the setbacks. The dock is designed to meet and or exceed the minimum setback of 10 feet from the extension of side property lines with the alternate riparian line. The dock, pier, or appurtenance will be compatible and appropriate with adjacent properties or other properties within the district. The existing dock is longer than surrounding docks. It's in a location where, as I said, the water depth is lower for an extension into the river. The neighboring docks accommodate motorboats, and so to be considered as the type of boat that the owner possesses and needs access to the water from with a big keel. If approved, this will be the longest dock accessory to a property within the city limits. The dock pier appurtenance must be approved by FDEP. We've talked about that. This is going to require an FDEP approval. I have not seen it yet. Trevor may have received it since I spoke with him. And if not, again, it's required before commencement of construction, but we cannot withhold permitting if we don't have it yet. General standards for special uses, utilities, any addition of electricity, water, or other service provided by the city will be appropriately permitted. Screening, buffering, or separation of nuisance excuse me, or hazardous features of the use. There will be no nuisance or hazardous features that will require buffering from adjacent properties. The setbacks, the additional, or the original dock was constructed with setbacks with an alternate riparian line that meet or exceed the 10-foot requirement. And that provides the separation from adjoining properties. The extension will likewise exceed the minimum side setbacks. One thing that we are going to include in the stipulations here, because the survey of the property does not include the dock, which is fairly recent from 2018, but also in addition to requiring the FDEP permission before commencement of construction, we're going to require a survey, a new survey that shows the exact location of the dock, where it was, so that we can ensure that that angle that goes out is going to meet the setbacks, that it was installed properly. When we do our inspections, post-construction, post-permitting, zoning goes out, but with docks, there's only so much we can measure, especially with one that goes so far out into the water. So a survey is what's needed here. Proposed signs and exterior lighting with reference to glare, traffic safety, and compatibility and harmony with surrounding properties. Any lighting must be installed according to FDEP ACOE requirements to ensure visibility at the terminus, and it will be appropriately permitted through city processes. This will be included in the FDE permit. They have very specific regulations about lighting for docks, particularly the lengthy ones. Effect upon the value of surrounding properties. The use shall not hinder the development of nearby vacant properties or adversely affect their economic value. Standard stipulation here, a dock will have to be kept in good working order to not degrade value. Staff is recommending approval because staff feels that the applicant has met the requirements of the land use regulations to move forward. And we have 4 stipulations recommended with this one. 1, the dock must be kept in good working order and condition to not degrade from the value of nearby properties. 2, that the survey of the property is to be updated to include the dock that was constructed in 2018 prior to construction permitting of the dock extension. 3, lighting of the dock is to be installed to meet requirements of the Florida Department of Environmental Protection and Army Corps of Engineers. And 4, all other applicable state or federal permits must be obtained before commencement of construction. Any conditions associated with the required FDEP permit will be met at the time of construction. Any questions for me or for Trevor? Yes, sir.
Mr. Roth?
Yeah, thank you. So this is going to be the largest dock in the city
longest.
limits?
Yes.
Okay, the longest. Looking through this, this is Heather's Landing subdivision, Lot 2. Question on that, and it's for the people that don't know this property. This was a mansion years ago that someone came in and bought and built 3 homes. It was kind of debated at the time as to whether, it was something new that was done. You remember? 4?
It was Dr. Suggs' property.
Okay.
And then Dr. Jadeja owned it, and then the person bought it out of his estate, and there are now 4 homes on that property.
4 homes, not 3. Thank you. So, first question is, this is Lot 2, wants a 930-foot dock. Do the other people, the other 3 homes, have the rights to build docks? Are we going to cram?
There are some existing docks, and yes, because the property was subdivided and legally platted, there are individual parcels, and they do have rights for an accessory dock. They could go through the same process.
Okay, so we could have 4 930-foot docks.
That's a special use, so that would be up to your approval.
Okay. What you said, the recommended extension was 20%, this is 60%? Is that?
The threshold for a special use expansion. If it were under a 20% expansion, he would not be required to come
Okay.
before you.
And the previous dock is 3 years old?
Yes.
Okay, so, well, once again, concerned about the precedent that we're setting. How long of a dock are you allowed to build on the river? 2,000 feet, 3,000?
Well, by our regulations, and I can go back to that, is up to 25% of the width of the river.
Yeah.
But again, that isn't so much under our regulation as much as the state. These are state submerged lands.
Yeah.
And this again opens the conversation. Do we want to regulate docks when they're already regulated by the state? I mean, we have different requirements.
Well,
Ultimately, it is the state.
the problem is, if someone has an issue down the road, they're not gonna go to the state, they're gonna come down here.
Exactly.
They're gonna yell at us.
Exactly.
And if they do go to the state, guess what the state's gonna say? Go back to the city. So anyway, so I once again, I'm concerned about this one. I'm concerned about permitting the longest dock in the city on a lot that is shared by 4 homeowners.
But just please, you'll get a chance. Mr. Sanders?
Yeah, sounds like a good place to put that bridge that we've been trying to get across over there. Maybe, if there's no limitations, maybe FDOT ought to look at that. MPO meeting, I'll mention that next. The waterway on this picture to your left, if you're looking at the picture, is that creek that goes back in there? Isn't there a marina back in there?
No.
No? What is back in there? Is that just a?
It's McClewis Bayou. It goes all the way back up to St. Stephen's.
There's probably 12
Look,
homes.
doesn't look like it's very populated right in there. That's in the county, isn't it?
That's the
Well, when
county.
you get on the other side of the bridge, the bridge limits it a little bit. And so that's basically 2 homeowners that are right there
Right.
on the east side, and then on the west side is other homeowners. But they're pretty, I think the bridge limits the boat sizes of those, but
Right.
that doesn't really.
That looks like a good place for our public county boat ramp.
Boat dock.
Oh, Ms. Henderson might have something to say about
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm sure that people are going to have something to say about it everywhere, but it looks like a pretty well good area to consider. I'm gonna mention that. Well, I didn't catch, what cruise line you said was going to be docking here?
It's a private sailboat.
Obviously, yeah, I'm being smart at it, but that's a pretty long dock. And I'm with Mr. Roth on this one. And, you know, where does it end? Is the next one's gonna be, you know, twice as long? And I hear you saying that we really not sure how far we can go. Maybe somebody have their own dock all the way across. I don't know. You know, someday somebody's got enough money to build that. And I'd like to ask Trevor, do you have the ability to build a dock out that far? I didn't know that you had.
Mr. Sanders, we'll get into public comment.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So no problem. So he's up on the record.
Right, okay, I got it.
And
Yeah, this concerns me too.
All right, Ms. Coker.
My question, and I don't know, I couldn't quite make out the riparian rights, but riparian rights only go out so far, right, from your boundary?
So, under Florida law, a riparian owner, which means they are the owner up to the mean high water line, has the right to wharf out to navigable waters. So that is their right under state law. There's no specific length as to how far they have to go to reach navigable waters, and that's what's regulated under the state permitting. So it does make me a little bit nervous that we have this process set up at 80 feet, and then we have this board sit up here and make this determination. We've had some discussions at the staff level that we ought to either take a comprehensive look at what we're doing from a dock permitting standpoint. These are regulations that have not been looked at and updated in some time. We either ought to be looking at them comprehensively and seeing what we can do, or letting the state take the permitting and leaving it to their determination as to what is a reasonable length to get out to navigable waters.
Yes, sir.
Well, and that's a good point, Scott, because, you know, navigable waters, one would say they already have that at 580 feet because they're navigating from there currently. So navigable waters by motorboat or sailboat, you know, I mean, so we're now in a gray area. What did you say you were concerned about it, the 80 feet? What were you talking about with that?
Well, I think we talked about the fact that the 80 foot appears to be, I'm not sure what the basis is for the 80 foot distinction, but like I said, my concern is they have the right under Florida law to put a dock out to achieve a navigable depth. Mm-hmm. And so that determination as to what that depth is and what's reasonable, the fact that we're making that determination up here at this dais makes me a little bit nervous. I'd prefer to see us either incorporate some specific regulations that address that into our ordinances, or to just leave that to the state to determine what's appropriate in terms of the length.
Well, and, I mean, I tend to agree with you, because,
I know that doesn't help you very much today.
No,
and I
I mean, well, I mean,
apologize.
I'm trying to figure out where to go with what you're just saying, because,
Right.
I mean, I tend to agree with you, because here we are now, once again, setting a precedent for, I'm just gonna round up and call it a 1,000-foot dock. Well, once we do that, you know, who's gonna want a 2,000-foot dock because they have a 100-foot, ocean liner? And so we allow that to go on. I mean, it's like, and if, as it is the state, so there was, and this, the other thing is that it's gonna require, superior approval. So can we ask that they get that before we do this, or is that
No,
not?
we cannot. The state regulations prohibit a lesser jurisdiction from not approving permits unless it has been declined by the state twice, which it has not.
Okay, and then,
Mrs. Coker had a question.
Okay, go ahead.
I think I was just a little bit concerned about the net, when people are out there pleasure boating, and now they're gonna have to go all the way out around there. I'd almost like to see what this would look like seeing the other coast and just see how much out, and, yeah, I'm very uncomfortable.
This,
With-
actually, it doesn't go near the center of the channel. There's still quite a distance. The river's quite wide. And I apologize, I did not have a
Yeah.
full graphic here.
Mr. Sanders?
You said that the state didn't approve first. I thought you always required the state to certify it before we would issue a permit.
The state issued a House bill in 2013 that prohibited lesser jurisdictions from not, or for using that reason to not issue a permit, that a higher jurisdiction or the state had not issued a permit yet. So we can hold it at construction. We can, the state does give specific allowance that we don't have to give them a certificate or they can't start construction until we have that FDEP permit.
So you are requiring it first, because I have personal experiences. You asked me personally to get that before you would consider my permit. So you are getting that first. The state said we don't need that, so I was really confused on, I think we've got another issue on how we permit. I agree with the city attorney. I think we've got another, we need to visit this as a council so that we're, have a comprehensive doc, because I don't think we want to allow the state to, and we have to live with that. I think we want to keep this within our control. At least that's what I think. But I think we need to have more discussion on this so that we don't start making these exceptions and then exception to exception and so forth. So I think we need more discussion at some point on this, and they can come back.
Well, I think one thing that, if I'm not mistaken, and the attorney can correct it, we have to discuss this issue today, and then going forward, I agree with you to bring it up and kind of go the next step of changing.
Well,
But
we
today
are
have to-
discussing this, but we can table this if we had to, or
Or we have to vote it out. I think, do we have to
or
vote it
vote
up
it
or
down
down?
and
Yeah.
ask them to come back after we've had a definite plan.
I think if I can make a suggestion, maybe with the applicant make their presentation and see if they're able to address any of the questions that the council has, and then we can continue the discussion.
So you got a picture of how far the river is there?
If I could, while they're pulling us up, once again, the other thing that concerns me is knowing this property, which I want to thank Ms. Barnaby for correcting me. It's not 3 houses on a lot, it's 4. And knowing that some people always want to say my dock's bigger than yours, we allow the 930-foot dock, so house number 1 comes up and says, well, I'm going to have a 1,250-foot dock, and gets it, and then the next one said, well, I'm going to have a 1,480-foot dock, so, and then we still got one more person out there, so I've just got concerns about this, and the other concern is, as Mr. Rudisell brought up, should we even be in this business if it's navigable waters? I mean, just because we've been doing it for years, because, this is the agency, I mean, if all goes well, no one's going to thank us. If all doesn't go well, we're going to take all the heat. So is there a bigger conversation here? And that doesn't mean we need to approve this today. I mean, this might be the dock that went too far, Maybe this is the point to have that discussion.
If this was something that
If
we
there
were
were the-
out of, if we were out of it, and they went right to the DEP and got approval, there's nothing we could say.
Well, that's true. It's just like, Piney Point. If we had control over that, I'd be trying to get that thing shut down and capped off, but we don't have a say. So, should we be in this business today? Do we have to make a decision on this today? I'm mostly concerned, the length scares me, But this property is specifically one of the only ones I know on Riverview Boulevard that was a consolidated lot that's got 4 owners. So with the second we open this up, it's like owner number 2, you're next. Owner number 3, you're next.
Mr. Sanders?
Mr. Ruff, I think you said the opposite of what you meant, maybe not, but you said that you'd like to have the control of Piney Point, and you didn't.
No.
And I know you just made that as a reference because it got out of hand, but isn't that, we don't want the state to have control of this because now then we don't have a say, and we might get it, we might have our own Piney Point with docks.
No.
So that's where I'm standing from, is like, I'd like to keep control of it, whether good or bad, because these are the shorelines of the city of Bradenton. So, but we need just to have a better plan on, discuss this at some point in the future so that we can maintain control, but, because we don't, what if the state comes in and says, well, I don't care, you can go all the way halfway out if you want. Would we really want that? No, I don't think so.
Well, I think that what was said earlier, they could, by DEP, go out 25%. So when Robin showed that, you know, the way that across the river kind of enclaved in is at 25% to that. So, but again, I think that's a great discussion to have as we go forward. Today, we have to make the decision yes or no, and then Mr. Perry has something else on his list to, with Robin, bring up for us with the attorney to add to the list of getting on the rotation. So, Ms. Barnaby?
Mr. Mayor, just a point of order. I think because this has been advertised as a public hearing, we at least have to have the public hearing.
So any other questions for staff, or we'll open the public hearing? Okay, Robin, did you have something for?
I was just going to mention, in my experience with DEP, and we're really talking about beachfront properties where development extends out into the coastal construction control line, and that's probably my phone. I apologize. But they usually ask for a zoning compliance letter before they issue a DEP letter. So they actually look for the communities to ensure that it's going to meet the zoning standards before they go for that. And I don't know if that's the case along the river here, but I know that it's been a case along. And the trade-off is really, you can kind of see it a little bit here, but where you have a dock that's very close to the shoreline, you have a lot of dredging that goes on. So it's kind of a trade-off of how much dredging do we want to allow for. And I don't know about the ecology of the base of the river and how that may impact that. Also, of course, the river is a very different circumstance because of the current that you have along the river and the deposit of sediment over time. And this is an indentation here. I've also dealt with regulations that simply said they had to go to, you were allowed to go to 5-foot depth mean low water over the course of a year, and that was usually up to the petitioner to make that measurement. In any case, we are looking at the land development regulations that were proposed previously about a year ago, I believe. And we're going to be workshopping those with the Planning Commission and then bringing them to City Council for workshop discussion. And this is probably going to be among the first that we take a look at this in processes, just because this does, it seems to me, that comes up quite a bit. So we'll try to look at what the past experience has been in terms of the approvals. Obviously, this is a very long dock, so it's going to be an unusual circumstance in this case. But we'll give you an idea of the number that have been approved, the percentage, and then also what kind of criteria we've applied in the past. So we'll try to come to that in short order. We'll make that our priority.
So the question being, the existing dock that was approved, that was built 3 years ago, what's the depth of that right now? Because we're putting in for a sailboat. What are we aiming to get at for the sailboat? I know that sailboats have keels. I know they go way down. So
Can we get the public hearing open and then?
yeah,
Mr.
well, he can actually.
I'm going to defer to the petitioner on that. Okay.
All right, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak?
Morning again. Trevor Green, 812 45th Avenue East, Ellington, Florida. the approximate depth at mean low water at the end of the existing dock is 4 feet. We're looking for 6 feet at mean low water because of Mr. Thomas's sailboat. Requires that to not be sitting on the bottom. So that's the purpose for the distance. You can see the shallows. I know there's a whole bunch of different discussions and arguments, so I'll just
Any other, Mr.
wait
Sanders?
for which one to start.
That's quite a ways out. Do you have the ability to, obviously, I guess you do, but to build out that far? Because does that not take a barge to?
I've got 3 barges,
Okay.
both with, not all, but either with excavators on them or with A-frame hoists on them. We built a dock on the Palmetto side of the river, 750 feet long, a couple years ago.
Okay.
We built one about 10 blocks west of this dock on the Bradenton side of the river that's 820 feet long. Yeah, I'm fully
Have you looked
capable.
into our Riverwalk dock area for a bid?
Haven't seen it in my emails yet.
I don't know if we put it out for a bid yet, but we're building a pretty substantial walkway down
I'd
this
be
way.
more than happy to.
Yeah, take a look at it.
provide a quote.
So I didn't know you had, I've known you for a while, and
Right.
I didn't know you had those barges that,
Mhm.
so I'm not questioning your ability yet. I think you got the ability, but I didn't know if you could get that far out. The Manatee River is pretty shallow until you get to the main,
Right.
right down the center. I
Right.
mean, it's, and it floats. It goes from
Yeah.
3 to 5 to, it's pretty
And that's
far
where-
out there before you get to 6 feet.
That's where that 80-foot rule really just doesn't work for the Manatee River. Because
Unless
to-
they're gonna
to limit them
dredge
at
all the way
80
up and
feet.
down, yeah.
Yeah, there's not a single, other than maybe on, from the start of Riverview Boulevard to 26th Street, where all the docks are right along the street right there. That's the only place where an 80-foot long dock works in the entire river, on either side of the river, just because of the water depth. Palmetto side, Bradenton side, county, out where I live in Ellington, anywhere. The water depth is just not sufficient that close to shore. Which is why when, we always run into these issues when we're building any dock on the river. They have to go further out.
Questions?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you just quoted a couple of docks to the west, which it goes into the county.
Yeah, the county line starts just a few lots west of this.
I'm sure, as a dock builder, you probably go up and down the river and look at docks. What's the longest dock on the river right now?
The one we did about 10 blocks west of this, it's 825 feet.
So this will not only be the longest dock in the city, it'll be the longest dock on the river.
Yep.
Any other questions? Any other comments, Mr. Green?
The only, reiterating the state's ruling is 25% of the width of the waterway. That's without impeding the navigable channel, which this is still probably 1,000 feet from the navigable channel if I had to guess.
That'd be like a quarter of a mile dock.
Which one?
If
This
we
one?
want, if we want 25% of the river.
Right, yeah,
It's usually
exactly.
it's a mile
Exactly.
wide, so we have
Yeah.
a dock a quarter of a mile out.
Right. It would be, but we're less than half that. So we're less than half of the state's
Yeah.
requirements. Like, I get it, it's a long dock, it really is. But, Mr. Thomas has a sailboat that he's paying slip rental over in Palmetto to keep his sailboat at, and he wants to have it behind his house.
It's not my problem.
All right, any other questions from the council? All right, anything else? Okay, any other public comment? Any other comment? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Chair will entertain comment or a motion.
Does this have to be voted on today? Can this be reconsidered and looked into? Just out of curiosity, doesn't matter to me. I feel, I'm not comfortable right now permitting the longest dock on the river right now.
Rudisil?
I think,
Especially on a property that has 4 homes.
yeah, I would recommend if the board were looking to have additional time to consider this, that they ask the applicant if they would be willing to continue the hearing Otherwise, I think the council needs to make a decision today.
Would
Mr.
you?
Green?
Yeah, can we ask you?
Mr. Green? Question is, would you prefer an up or down vote, or would you like to continue the hearing for the council consider what ordinances, I guess, that we're gonna start talking about, or
Well,
information?
I don't think we're not going to adopt an ordinance then apply it to this application, but, and so that would be one question is what does the council want staff to do during that? If we were to continue it, what does the council want staff to do? And maybe it's to look into what the limitations are and what are the other dock lengths along that area? What kind of depths are they getting to? Is this a reasonable request based on those conditions, something along those lines? That would be something that staff could look into further if that's what the council's looking for. I'm just making
But what is the
suggestions.
time frame of the council doing that? That would be the thing, and if, I would think that,
Yeah, which is why obviously we would prefer a vote, as long, we've been approved by the building commission. We're meeting all the requirements of the state. Everything is being met, to the current standards. So we would obviously prefer a vote, being that we've met everything.
Ms. Barnaby?
Mr. Green, I guess the question is, would you prefer a slow yes or a fast no? Because I have not said anything, and this is in my ward. And, looking at this, and I can tell you pretty much who owns all of these properties along here. I can tell you who owns this property here. I can tell you what may be happening at this place that Mr. Sanders seems to think he can talk to somebody about a bridge. Of course, with it being Mr. Coletta, that might be an interesting discussion. Knowing that we have had difficulties already with access to the river, and I'm not casting aspersions on anyone, but saying that there are property owners in this area that keep trying to stretch their boundaries and try to prevent citizens from being able to access the river here. And now you're gonna have this great big long dock, and you're gonna have an expensive sailboat at the end of it. I think having this discussion continued to be able to make some of the council members feel more comfortable might be a wise choice.
Mr. Roth?
Yeah, and-
Something to consider.
Mr. Green, just so you know, getting approval from the planning commission is not binding to this board.
I agree.
So, I just wanted you to know that I voted in the past against, the planning commission's recommendations. So that's not, it doesn't mean just because we got approval of the planning commission, it's a done deal here.
Right, no, I know, yeah, I'm aware of that.
And I think that Councilwoman Barnaby said some very wise words, a slow yes or a fast no, do you really want a no vote? Because that does it. And I'm not, I just know, I'm uncomfortable right now. Could this be mitigated? I don't know. I know I'm not comfortable right now.
Ms. Coker?
Yeah, I'm just, being a Realtor, I have to be conscious of what depths the water are with people coming, and someone that comes and says they need a 6-foot draft, they pretty much need to know they're gonna have to keep their boat at a marina. At this point, there are very few areas that can take on that kind of depth. And so I'm concerned about doing one there, and then everyone else on the river, I would say, if he can get it, then why can't they? And then, boy, that's really gonna change the whole, I have a lot of concerns about that.
Ms. Barnaby?
One of our stipulations, or one of the things that we look at is saying that it's not going to affect the value of somebody else's property. I can tell you with a dock that long, it's gonna affect the view corridor up and down for blocks. And not just in the city, it will affect it in the county as well. And need I remind you how many attorneys live along that line? My husband is not one of them, we don't live there, but I'm just saying,
Scott, do you live there?
no, he does not.
Did you buy a house there?
No, sir.
Okay.
Not yet.
Again, a slow yes with a little more deliberation might be a better way to go. I'm just saying, I would have you noticed when he called for a motion, and it's in my ward, I didn't make a motion. Because I don't know that I don't like making motions that fail, and I don't know that I could get 3 votes on this today. So that's why I'm asking you to consider a slow yes over a fast no.
Well, I definitely wouldn't want to leave anything open-ended. You know, if it's going to be how slow is a slow yes? Are we talking about a years-long process to change the whole code book?
No, because we could not, I'm sorry, I don't mean to speak for the attorney.
No, that's okay. I was just gonna note, if the council continues this today, it will be to a date certain. So there will be a time and date certain as to when this matter would be taken back up again.
Can we determine that before we make a decision?
Well, it would be in the motion.
And I don't know, I mean, a slow yes, I mean, you're almost, I mean, I wouldn't
No,
promise that it's a
well,
yes.
no,
You
I'm
just,
not-
yeah.
I'm not promising anything to anybody. That is a phrase that I used to use with my children when they would come and want me to do something immediately, and I was not in the mood to do it immediately. So I would say to them, do you want a slow yes or a fast no? If you give mom time to think about it and make the plan, there might be a yes. You keep hammering me right now, it's gonna be a no. That's what I would say to my children.
If the vote, if you call the vote and it's no, they can always reapply, right?
Not really.
No?
Not aware of any provisions in the code that would prevent them from reapplying, but obviously you have then a scenario, if the code hasn't changed and the conditions haven't changed, it would be difficult to come back and take a different action on the same
But
application.
I said, if the changed, then they could reapply. If it's the same, then it's, yeah, you're gonna get the same, because then it's same answer, yeah.
Right, I mean, there's nothing to prevent them from reapplying.
Okay,
But like I
that's
said-
my point. yeah.
Right.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Green, you absolutely need 350 feet to get to that water. I mean,
Yeah, I actually went out, I took one of my work skiffs out there and picked up Mr. Thomas on the end of his dock with my rangefinder and a measuring pipe on a 0 tide. And we went out, straight out off the end of the existing dock, and that's the closest point to which we got to the 6 feet of water depth.
well, you can see the areas where people have dredged.
The problem with dredging is it's something you have to redo every couple of years if you want to maintain that water depth with the currents in the river and the sand disbursement. If you cut a trench all of a sudden in the middle of that sandy area, you're gonna, with the tide going east and west and the currents going east and west right there, it just pushes it right back in.
I
So
understand
you
that.
don't maintain that. It becomes a much, much more expensive, and it's also much more invasive to the
To the seagrass
natural
and to everything.
body of water to dredge a channel as opposed to build a dock.
But I am very concerned about having an almost 1,000-foot dock out in that area.
Right.
Because like I said, anyone with it that length, I think anyone walking down Riverview Boulevard down by my house, you're gonna see that dock. You will see it, and you will see the sailboat there. Some people find that pretty, some people don't. This is
Yes, sir.
a real conundrum.
Right.
Mr. Roth?
I mean, some people decide to, have a Learjet, and they have to park it at an airport, Some
But if they
people,
had a property large enough they could put a runway on, they could put a runway
then they
there,
should
right?
buy a property in the middle of nowhere
Right.
and,
That's not
and,
true.
and,
No,
hopefully.
that's not-
FAA approval.
Yeah, they have something, I mean, John
Right.
Travolta has that in Ocala,
Right.
but it's in an area where you're allowed to do that with FFA, or FAA.
So it
sorry.
sounds like we're kind of at an impasse here, so it would come down to the council
Well, I mean, I just
making a
wanted, I just
motion.
wanted to make a point, though, that's,
Right.
you know, so, and the point being that, you know, I mean, I know that some people have canoes, some people have john boats, some people have motorboats, and some people have yachts and sailboats, and they're usually attributed to a very expensive hobby. And, you know, and usually they understand that they're gonna have to park that in a marina. It's just the way it is. And I don't know that changing the dynamics of the city to accommodate a guy so he could save slip space is in the best interest of the community. It's just, I mean, it's sticking way out. And there's three, I mean, I don't know that we could have stopped the mansion from being torn down into 4 homes. I didn't think that that was in the best interest of the city. It happened, it did, but we have 3 other property owners right there. And then, I mean, I could just envision this all of a sudden, you know, a race to the middle of the river. I'm uncomfortable with this one.
Mr. Mayor, if I could maybe make a suggestion, maybe we ask staff how long they think they would need to look at some of the issues that were raised by the council today, and then we could look at continuance dates so that Mr. Green could make a decision whether he would seek a continuance from the council or ask for a vote today.
Ms. Singer?
I guess it's a factor of what you want to see in order to help you make your decision. So if you wanted to see what the regulations are in the county and other municipalities that are either along the river or along the bay in terms of their dock regulations, we can get that to you pretty quickly, I think. If you wanted to look at your past decisions of this body, relative to docks, we could probably put that together. It would probably take a couple of weeks just to get that formulated. And I guess it's what do you need to know to help you make your decision?
Yeah, I think something that would be, you know, if we could say, I don't think we're going to be able to have the next council meeting, but maybe in September, our first meeting is the 8th. And one of the things that I would think that we'd want to get some research on, and I know there's a long history in Jacksonville of some very, very long docks. So maybe that would be some information and some history to help understand it. So it sounds like this council is willing to give some opportunity to succeed. So I would hope you'd be willing to take that instead of failing today. That's the word that comes out, so.
Willing to, give the time. Like I said, I just don't want to leave it open-ended. Like,
I agree.
Oh, yeah, we'll think about it and we'll call you.
So you would accept a continuance till September 8th to discuss it. Yes, sir, Mr. Sanders.
And that was going to be my other question, exactly what she just asked, is like, what is the information you're looking for to approve it? Are you looking for, do you want the DEP's approval prior to doing this, or do you want, like, what? I don't know what,
Mr.
I don't know what
Sanders.
exactly you're looking for in order to be able to approve it, being that we do meet all of the criteria required.
I want to ask
From the
the
higher
council
body.
and Ms. Singer a question. Since this can affect every person up and down the river and other people, shouldn't this be a public hearing? Shouldn't we have a public hearing on
Well, it is a public
It is
hearing.
a
and
public-
I'm not talking about this, I'm talking about,
It would be a continuation.
If I,
I'm not talking about this, I'm talking about what we're gonna do between now and the continuation. Should we not have a public discussion on what Bradenton wants to see along their riverbanks?
well, that would be a different discussion. I think what we're looking at here is just some additional information to help the council make a decision on this application. But obviously, if there's going to be any type of amendments to the code or anything like that, then yes, there will be public hearings and an opportunity to put folks on notice in those areas.
No, that's not really, I don't know if you're understanding. I'm saying that I don't think we should make a decision that affects everybody over one application. I think something like this is something that the public needs to have an opportunity to come in here and say, I don't want it, I want it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, that's what we had, it was out there today, but it wasn't as, Yeah, so,
This was
I'm
advertised
talking about our
and
policy,
noticed as
our
a.
new policy, not this application. The reason we want time to determine if this is what we want to see on the river. So we're going to set a policy that's going to affect everybody, not just this applicant. So if we do that, should we not publicly ask everyone for their input, not just on this application, but on the policy along the river for building docks?
And we will. We will. I mean, I would say even in drafting the regulations, we can notify everybody.
But we
in
can't
the
get that
city.
done by September 8th, can we?
No, and we're not suggesting that you are going to change the regulations prior to approving this dock. That you'd still be approving or denying this dock based on the regulations that are in place at the time they applied. So you're still, you're applying essentially an exception to the rule. And do you want to approve that exception? And what additional information do you need to make that decision?
But that's where we're back to square one with Mr. Roth, is now we have set a precedent.
But it's not precedent setting, it's a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, well,
And
if
you feel.
you got one, I want one.
Yeah, well, definitely, but then they would have to apply pretty quick if it's our intention to change the code.
You can't communicate that to the public. They come in a year later and says, John Doe got a 1,200-foot one, I want a 1,500-foot one.
Yeah.
Well, we've changed the rules. Yeah, that's what I figured, he'll say. Yeah, you changed the rules.
And that can happen.
And that's not fair.
Yeah, but that happens quite often where if you feel
that's not fair.
compelled to approve something because of the criteria and standards that are in place at that time, and you don't like what the result, that very often leads to a code amendment where you say, we don't want to do these anymore, and that can happen.
Well, that happened to me on building a house where I came here before I was elected, and this house almost consumed probably 80% of the lot. And I said, I want one like that. No, you can't have one. I said, wait a minute, as a matter of fact, that's not even finished. So, I mean, that's what irritates the public, is like, how do you make these decisions? There should be a standard. If he can get it, I can get it, and you can't change the rules between the two time periods. That's what annoys constituents when this happens. And so I'd like to have a policy. And we start wavering outside the policy, like Mr. Ruff said, now we've set a precedent that, well, you did it for him.
Yeah.
I want the same thing.
Yeah, people are entitled, after a code is put in place for a vested rights determination, that the city can make to say that you had a vested right that was curtailed by the changes to the code, and that's under the Burt-Harris Act. So there is that opportunity in cases where people felt they didn't have the proper notice and ability to do what they were entitled to do in previous regulations. So there's checks and balances for that, to allow for that, but definitely it'll all be part of a public hearing process, and we'll make sure that we're notifying the people that are going to be most affected by those code changes.
Notify everybody up and down the river
We can do
before
that.
September 8th?
Not prior to September 8th, because the decision you make on September 8th only affects, it doesn't change the regulations, it only impacts this particular property and this particular application.
Okay.
all right, I got Mr. Roth, then Ms. Coker, then Ms. Barnaby.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the people that have said they're okay with this, and, six of them aren't on Riverview. They're offside. One's in St. Croix, Minnesota. One's in Pensacola. One's in Sarasota. One's in Nevada. And then the odds, meaning they're on the other side of Riverview Boulevard, so they're not going to be affected by this one way or another. There's six of them, so there's really very few. One of them is on the same property, so it's one of the other homes. I mean, I just don't think that we've heard from, I don't think this is an accurate sign-off that the citizens that are going to be affected by this have been notified.
Sir,
Isn't that the point of having the sign in the yard 10 days prior, and it's also in the newspaper, correct? So it's public knowledge that this hearing's going on? That's
So
the whole
the
purpose
person
of
in
this
St.
public hearing?
So the person in St. Croix, Minnesota saw that? I mean,
Well,
I don't know what to say. I mean, it's not, I thought that was how public hearings worked. That was my understanding. And you
But
put
what
it in
I'm
the paper,
hearing-
You put signs out front, that would,
What-
it's
I,
public
I'm
knowledge.
gonna vote no today, just so you know, all right? Just because I don't like where this is going.
I figured that.
Ms. Coker?
Yeah, I think in terms of where I'm stuck is that what the definition of navigable water is. There's got to be some kind of limitation to that because, I mean, then it would leave it unlimited, that you could go as long as you wanted. If you had a cruise liner, you know, I mean, there are boats that, you know, cross the ocean that require like a 15-foot draft. You know, at what point? So there's got to be some kind of either case law or some kind of limitation as to what is navigable waters. And that's where I'm struggling, because if the rules say they can go as far as they need you to get to navigable, then there's got to be some kind of limit on that. And so that's what I'd like to know more about.
And that would obviously be something we would look at if this were continued today.
Ms. Barnaby?
Again, I mean, I think it would be interesting to have some additional data. One would be the navigable, I can't even talk with this stupid thing on. One of the things that we are charged with up here is looking at how it affects the entire community. And the other thing is looking at the framework of the rules and regulations that we have in place. And sometimes there are unintended consequences for the rules and regulations that we put in place. And we don't recognize those unintended consequences until something like this occurs. I understand that we may look at changing our regulations, but it will not affect this application.
Sorry.
But I would like to have more information to be able to make an informed decision and to make a decision that I can feel comfortable with. As I said, you didn't notice I jumped up right away to make a motion for this.
What information are you looking for?
Well, we've mentioned several things here that we would like to get. A better definition of what navigable water is that we could look at. Again, it may be a slow yes over a fast no. I don't know that. But I think if you ask this council to take a vote right now, or if someone makes a motion to deny it right now, then
I'm willing to wait till the September 8th. I just want to make sure that, you know, I'd like to know what you guys are looking for in order to be able to make your decision, you know.
Well, I think
and the
that we can get with our-
the definition of navigable water, I mean,
I think that
we
we can get with our attorney.
ask DEP about that, but I don't know that there is an exact definition of that.
Well, I'm sure there is probably
Somewhere,
there's going to be some kind of guidance on that.
or
wouldn't you
some kind of
think?
case law.
Yeah, my guess is it's gonna be a bunch of case law. So,
Right,
but we
that's why you
can,
make-
take a look at that. We can have a discussion with staff and kind of look at
And it,
some of the other, you know, what exactly are the DEP regulations compared to what the city's doing and what the county and city of Palmetto are doing, if we're kind of looking at what the whole riverfront will be like, and what some of the other existing and other permitted docks are in the area. We can bring that kind of information, what depths they're getting.
And I think that's also where similar areas that might have some docks out that length that gives some history of things. Mr. Sanders?
Ms. Barnaby, you said you don't want to make a motion?
no, I said I didn't jump up to make the motion. Usually, if I'm in favor of something in my ward, I take great pride in doing that. But I'm more than happy right now to make a motion that we continue this public hearing until our September 8th council meeting to enable our staff, our city attorney, and you may want to include the applicant in these conversations. I'm not telling you how to do your jobs.
I'd like to be included if possible.
Well, again, I don't tell them how to do their jobs, but that we continue this until our meeting on September the 8th, and that's my motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Willing to second that.
Okay.
Thank
Is there any further discussion?
And just for the record, that would be September 8th at 8:30 a.m. in these chambers.
Correct. All right, hearing no further discussion, we'll start the vote in Ward 2,
Yes.
3, 4,
That's acceptable to you?
Yes.
Yes.
5,
Yes.
1.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All
Can I
right, thank
put
you.
a request? Can I get an email or can you send information to Myra as far as like if there's any specific information you would like to see from DEP or from Manatee County or City of Palmetto? If you guys could send us a list of that so we could start putting that together in order to have it to you prior to
You have to
that?
put that together.
We'll put it, and you can deal with the
Well, I'm
Myra.
just saying
and
if there's
keep
something
it.
wanna be part
specific
of
that
it.
you want to see, I'd like to know.
You'll get that. You'll get all that.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a 5-minute recess. Call the meeting back to order. We're at new business by department head, city attorney, and council. Mr. Perry, you're up first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. There's a couple things I wanted to bring to your attention, and there's a few items on the agenda that the departments will probably take the lead on. But the first thing I wanted to give an update on the budget, where the administration is on preparation for the proposed budget. And we have been finalizing revenue numbers. There's still some outstanding information we haven't received from the state. I think specifically the half-cent increment for the infrastructure. I'm sorry, communications tax. That is the outstanding issue. We hope, hopefully by next week, to have some aggregate numbers, to be able to look at what this year's budget is, both in specific funds and departments and overall, and then be able to look at what the proposed budget does as it relates to the net effect on the overall budget from an operating perspective, general fund perspective, department perspective, and the like. And I think that that's sometimes the best starting point for an analysis of the budget. You know, where has it gone from last year to this year? And so we're trying to finalize that. Of course, our first budget meeting is on September 9th, and we intend to have all of this basically well prepared and a presentation on the budget to you prior to that date. The department heads are working very, very diligently on that. Linda is working, and Tom working really hard on the finance side of that. And I'm going to talk a little bit about, I guess, my feelings as it relates to the budget process and institutionalization within the city of how the budget I'd like to see it done in the future, and how some opportunities we have to improve the budget process would be. So I'll be presenting that as I present the budget, beginning in September, but also on a matter regarding the fire equipment apparatus today, and touching base on that as well. Also, Mayor, and I don't have a copy of the Housing Authority letter that we received. I have it up in my office.
Okay. I didn't bring it with me either. so-
Yeah, if you want, we could pass that if that's possible.
Right.
And I can go
Yeah.
grab a copy.
Perfect, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit later.
Maybe just tell them the synopsis of what we got so we can,
Sure, and correct me to fill in any gaps, but we received a letter from the Housing Authority, local Housing Authority, and it requested the waiver of some fees and.
Mr. Ellis. right?
Yeah, Mr. Ellis, and some cost and the like. And we basically pointed out that there is a lot of opportunity for funds availability for folks that don't have the funds available because of COVID, basically, to make their rental payments and things like that. And in essence, it asked us to do some relief for, I think it was the property.
Yeah, it's about $42,000.
In property tax?
Right.
Yeah. And we thought, well, that kind of benefits landlords more than anybody else. And both landlords are available for business loss within some of these recovery programs, the CARES Act and other things. And of course, the tenants themselves have really fairly generous opportunities under the federal subsidy funding to pay their rent and things like that. So we were writing back a kind letter that was going to probably point these things out, and on behalf of the administration, not recommend the abatement. Mayor and I have been working on that, and Mayor wanted you to know that what that involved, that we were working on it, and if any input was necessary from you all, we'd certainly appreciate it. But we thought we could pretty much address that administratively. And Mayor, I'd
Yeah, no,
defer to you.
that was correct. With the way it sounded, and obviously, this board knows that we've asked Mr. Ellis to come here numerous times, and he has refused to come address this board. But it wasn't a matter of if it was a need and a one-time, maybe there's an opportunity. But in the situation, what I felt in talking with Mr. Perry and going through it was that there is ample money through the CARES Act, the other funds that these landlords have opportunity to get for rental relief and all of that. So just to give up $42,000 worth of city taxes, and he wasn't asking for a one-time, it's forever. So I thought it important to bring to, the council to say, hey, and maybe also give an opportunity for Mr. Ellis to come to us, and if there's something we're missing, maybe we can discuss it as a group,
Right.
So, Mr. Sanders?
I agree with all that, and we can handle this administratively. Of course, I believe that the council needs to be known about this, that it's the council decision if they wanted to. But my input, I'm on that board that Mr. Ellis is the executive director of, and there's plenty of money they have to do these things without asking the city for additional funds. But we also have an affordable housing board that, if it had to, you could run it by them first and then make a recommendation to this council. But I saw the letter, like all council people did, that they was doing that ask, and I I didn't know how we was going to address it. We was going to address it administratively because without him publicly coming to say something, then maybe he has asked for it that way. But correctly, you're bringing it before the council if somebody opposes it. But I'm in favor of your decision on that from what I know about all the circumstances.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Councilor Sanders, for the guidance.
Any other comments? All right, thank you.
My
So-
comment was
oh.
going to be, he's declined to ever show up anytime we've asked him to come, and so to come and ask for something and not even come still, it's.
Right.
Mr. Roth?
Yeah, and I'd be more concerned about helping, the citizens, who are apt to be put on the street than I would be the agency that,
some people have issues with.
Well, I think one of the things, that's why we're discussing a little bit about that, I believe at this point, we have a board, and we've appointed two, the council has appointed two new members this year that hopefully are gonna hold a little bit of more accountability. I know Mr. Sanders and I was at a meeting a couple months back, and then I wasn't at the last one, but hopefully that's helping as we go forward.
Yes, that board, I think, will improve dramatically by the strength of the board members.
Thank you.
I've recently communicated with Mr. Ellis via email about a situation, and I mentioned to him that I'm looking forward to coming to the next meeting, so that'll quite interested.
All right, thank you. Mr. Perry?
Mr. Mayor, Council, moving on to the agenda items, Resolution 2155, which is a Public Works Commercial Driver's License CDL bonus program. And Jim is here, and that's the department most affected by that. As you know, HR, which is also closely affected, Nilsa has had a tragedy, basically, in the family, and so she's not available right now. In the package, it's fairly self-explanatory. I think council is well aware of the problem we've had with CDL drivers, and I'm sure you've all received the calls probably incessantly over the course of the last couple of weeks regarding related trash pickup services, yard waste, recycle, and pretty much anything that gets put into a dumpster, refuge in general. And it's a difficult situation, and you're also aware of that it isn't just a city of Bradenton situation. It's perhaps statewide and perhaps nationally, quite frankly. And you know, one of the problems that we experience, obviously, is we don't want to be a training ground for people, get them up to speed with CDL, and then ultimately the bidding war ensues. And, you know, some of those folks are looking for the higher hourly wage and ultimately leaving the department and causing us a revolving door, basically, which in the end causes us not to be able to provide the service that's necessary, required, and expected by our citizens. So this is a kind of a Band-Aid on a bullet wound, I guess is a better way to put it. It's a big problem, and this is what we've come up with as a fiscal approach to try to supplement income and do both retention, recruitment of qualified CDL personnel. And I think it's self-explanatory. The resolution itself, 2155, talks about the bonus program, but the attachments to it spell out the specifics as it relates to current employees being a $2,000 bonus, and employees that the current employees where it's required is $2,000, I should say. It's $1,000 for CDL employees where the CDL is not required, but we want to keep a stable of both folks, and so we had to spread that out. There's some clawback provisions within it as it relates to 18 months the employee would have to basically stay with the city, or it would be reimbursable. There's also an interesting provision that kind of deals with trying to game two systems, which is subsection G under the bonus amount program administration, that deals with a rehire component where someone would leave, get more money, and then try to come back to us and get another supplement. You know, I've experienced that before. Yeah, I guess that's called free agency in the sports term. Yeah, but we're trying to address it and nail down some of that vulnerability we have from program administration perspective. Otherwise, self-explanatory. Myself, Jim, would stand for any questions, and I would tender it to council.
Mr. Sanders?
Yeah. Eligibility, current employees, 5 or more years, 2,000, 1 to 5 years, 1,000 in 2 payments. 0 to 1 year, 1,000 in 2 payments. Why is the B and C the same? Because if I'm just started and you're going to give me two payments of $1,000, the guy that's been here almost 5 years says, Should I get more?
I don't think the intent of this was try to be uniform to the people. So what we were trying to, we selected 5 years as a retention period to say, if you've been with us for 5 years, we want to reward you immediately for your 5 years of service.
Got it.
Okay?
Got it.
For anybody between 1 and 5 years, we were spreading it out over a period of time. They still get the same amount. It's still $2,000.
Well, so is the 0 to 1 years.
For the 0 to 1 years, you have to complete your probationary period, so it's after 6 months before you get your first payment, and then at the end of
But that's the
the
only
year.
difference between B and C than just a 6 month probationary period.
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted, I just now saw that, and it's the same for the next,
For the next category.
category, the exact same thing. So what's their, does they have a probationary period too?
Yes.
And what about, and it says bonus amount in program administration, commercial driver, CDL, is that the new prospective person off the street that comes in, you're giving them a bonus?
A new person coming in off the street, we would be advertising that we have a program in place that if you complete your 6 month probationary period, you would get $1,000. And then if you stay with us for the full year, you would get another $1,000 at the end of that. It's somewhat similar to the types of programs that the private haulers are offering on a different scale, but same format.
Okay. It just didn't say new hires.
Well, the new hires is basically anybody with 0 to 6 months of experience. So walking in through the door, you have.
But they're not current employees.
Correct.
And then the sunshine on it is next year, September, or,
Yeah, I mean, we were trying to get us through what we would hope would be the end of this
September 3rd,
crisis,
2022.
if you will.
now, will this, how will this affect any CARES Act money for premium pay?
Anything that you folks elect to do with premium pay is separate completely from this.
Okay.
Mrs. Barnaby?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is a recruitment and retention
Correct.
tool.
Correct.
And reading this, I see that we have a copy of the acknowledgement.
Yes.
Bonus acknowledgement. I would personally like to see or recommend that the sentence that says, in the event you leave the city of Bradenton within 18 months of your date of hire, you will be responsible for reimbursing the city for the entire bonus. I would like that either highlighted or in bold letters.
We can do that.
Thank you.
Mr. Roth?
Yeah, and on the reimbursement clause, which I agree with, what would our legal process be? Take them to small claims court? I mean,
Take it out of
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Ruff, when you come onto the city, you sign acknowledgement of our handbook and other items. Within those acknowledgements is a provision that says if you owe the city any money, it can be taken out of your last paycheck. So there might be some opportunity to get it before it gets out the door, so to speak. And then after that, as far as recovery, would become more problematic.
Yeah.
And it's a good question.
And you may have a collection problem because some of these paychecks aren't that large.
And you're right about that. I looked at the same thing. Absolutely, yeah.
well, and then, and it's coming, 150 grand coming out of general fund contingencies. Where exactly, what's that mean? Does that mean reserves? Does that mean?
I can take a stab at that. Tom and Linda here to probably correct me, so I'll try to keep it fairly general, which is the general fund has a contingency amount within it, and this is within the limit.
Okay, that's
I'm getting a nod that that's correct, so.
Okay, just funds that don't necessarily get used.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And our intent was for this to be a one-time cost.
Right.
Which is, a suitable use for that kind of fund.
I totally agree with everything we got going. I just want to make sure we're, I like this. Thank you.
I just one more point, Councilor Roth, on that. I think we're going to have to look at hard baking it into the budget, though, because it's a position and a certification that is in high demand, and the elasticity of that is fairly low. People are going to go where the price point is, and that's just the reality of life, what we're dealing with.
Well, and on that note, that was going to probably come up, my last point was that, two things. One, I think that people that come to the city and realize the benefits program and everything that we have, that we employ is, better than what's out there in the private sector. I would hope that we're a better place to work. That we would, this is more to try to keep people loyal to the city, get them, and hopefully this would also try to get some people to want to better themselves and get into this pool. Our existing employees that maybe are not living up to their potential, that we can, encourage them to get a CDL license. It's not,
Do we have a training school, does the tech, does they have a training program for CDL license?
Yes, and we have a program in place to train our drivers.
And we pay for it?
Yep.
Just if I could ask a quick question, Jim, because I don't know the answer. How much does it cost us to train a CDL driver, just roughly?
If you look at just the cost of the course and everything else, it's $375.
That's not much.
Not much.
So you're asking for a motion for approval?
I am. I'm
on
requesting
Resolution
a motion to approve Resolution 2155.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Sanders,
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, can I read that into the record, please?
Sure, thank you.
Resolution 2155, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Bradenton, Florida, approved bonus program for public works, commercial driver's license, or CDL holders.
Thank you, and we have a motion from Mr. Sanders.
All right.
Second from Ms. Barnaby. All right, any further discussion? Start the vote in Ward 3.
Yes.
4.
Yes.
5.
Yes.
1.
Yes.
2.
Yes.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you on
next
behalf
the-
of my staff.
Thank you. Yep, thank you, Jim, for all your hard work. Next on is Chief Edwards. Can you make that any bigger on the screen?
Sure, yes, sir.
The firefighter.
Yeah, don't. It's not even my computer, and that makes it difficult as well.
Hey, they put out a fire last night. We're good. We're all good.
Thank you very much. That was a good thing, right? That was good.
Is that any better?
That's better,
A
yeah.
little better.
With glasses.
Mayor, Council, good morning. We're coming before you just to try to replace a couple of our fire engines. And I want to give you just a little bit of detail and a little bit of history on how we got here and how we operate. For us, we operate with 8 fire apparatus. And I say apparatus, that's aerials, that's heavy rescues, and of course pumpers. We operate with 8 of them, divided up between 3 stations. We have 4 downtown at Station 1, 2 at 2, and 2 at Station 3. We try to hang on to a reserve or 1 or 2 just as we take them out of service. We try to hang on to them just to keep us afloat and going. You know, we try not to sink a lot of money into them. They're used basically as backup. We're currently having to surplus one of our reserves right now. It's a 1997, 24-year-old piece of apparatus that we just can't keep it going. It's just going to sink too much money that doesn't make sense. We do have a replacement schedule for that on all of our apparatus. We rely on our annual rolling stock survey. That Rob, I'll give you this when after the presentation, but a lot of time and effort goes into this. Battalion Chief Steve Trumpke puts this together, and I get it annually. It identifies a lot of our issues with our rolling stock. It gives us a good idea on our maintenance cost, our lifetime maintenance cost, our operating cost, projected costs. So if I know that something's going to need to be repaired, we can budget for it next year. It basically reviews the life expectancy of that piece of equipment. Everything's in here from staff vehicles to engines to boats to trailers, even our station generators in there. So I have a good idea of where we stand and where we are with this. Our problem this year with those 8 frontline engines is probably half of those. 4 of those that we're in pretty good shape of. They're less than 15 years old. The others is the 21-year-old aerial, 18-year-old heavy rescue, and 2 pumpers, that are about 17 years old. What we're seeking or what we're looking for is to replace those. And one of the engines that I'm going to be replacing is engine 431, which is one of our first out at Station 3. This piece of equipment has probably been out of service more this year than it has in the last 12 months. I think it's been out 6 months. This is the one that, as we were coming back from a call, ended up shearing off a rear hub and ended up losing the dualies on the rear end. And luckily, they were coming back from a call and not responding hot to a call in a residential area. But yeah, when you get engines nowadays over 15 years old, you really have a tough time finding replacement parts. A lot of time you're having to manufacture or hunt them down some way. We used to use, as a rule of thumb, we try to get 20 years out of our apparatus. Mm-hmm. That's a long time, and these things are on the road 24/7 and really put it through their paces. We just don't get it anymore with all the electronics, all the emissions control and everything. It's very difficult. So that would be one of the engines that I'm looking to replace. Heavy rescue would be another one. This is another one that we can't keep on the road. It's constantly down. If you remember back on 2003, we got that piece of apparatus, and it was under a grant fund. So it's definitely served its purpose. The disadvantage I have with a piece of equipment like that, it has no pump and it carries no water. So it's limited to what we can use it for. I've got to be real careful what it goes out on. If it's involved in any kind of firefighting, I have to send another engine out with it. So what we're wanting to do is replace that with a heavy pumper, basically, just a bigger chassis.
What unit number is it?
This is 418, on that.
HR 418.
Yeah, HR
418.
418. Yeah. And so, yeah, we're looking to replace that with a heavy pumper, something that we can still fit all the equipment on, still can be deployed out to hurricanes. Our technical rescue crew runs that, and it's a great piece of equipment. It carries a ton of equipment, can do anything that we need to do, but it's very important that we have one that we can use to fight fire if so needed. The finance end of it, I'll let Mr. Perry explain a little more. Carl Callahan had allocated 1.2, I guess, back when he was here for this year to replace 2 pumpers. And at the time, we were going to replace 2 of our first out engines, which are just basic pumpers, and that was going to work for us. But through time, we've had some issues with our heavy and end up going to try to fit that in. So we're asking for $1,498,987 is what we've got. And after me, I'll certainly let Mr. Perry explain. And another reason for the urgency, of course, you get the the prepaid discounts. I think there's 42,000 for that, a multi-vehicle discount, 10,000 for that. But our big concern is getting it built, getting it on the assembly line. They're promising us right now that they'll save us a spot as an emergency purchase, so which is huge. We can get it through a little quicker, and this would be for our cookie cutter engine, the basic pumper. That it would be an identical copy to one of ours that we currently have. I think that we purchased back in 2018, but that's kind of the reason for it. Other than that, it would take quite a while. A lot of times when you go to build these pieces of apparatus, it's 12 to 18 months. So we're looking at quite a bit of time. That's kind of what I had for you. Tim, if you've got anything you want to add or break down our rolling stock a little better.
All right, thanks, Chief. Just to talk about rolling stock a little bit, and
Tim, if you could just identify yourself for the record.
For the record, I'm Assistant Chief Tim Gear, Bradenton Fire Department. So anyways, we work closely together on this, and it's a continual update every year. So a lot of the numbers you see even now are already going to be, we've got this whole fiscal year still to report. So really a lot of the expense that we're having with these apparatus, these trucks, has really even grown, and you'll see it in this current fiscal year when we report. So understand that we constantly keep up with all of our operating expense and track everything we do. So and one thing that dealing with Administrator Perry on is that down the road we'll continue to do strategic planning, get involved, especially with y'all in the budgeting process, but even just long-term replacement programs, that some of us have discussed already. So that's kind of our hope. And the particular trucks, down the road is that some of the ones that we go to surplus, we've already spent in excess of $100,000 on repairs, et cetera. And then we faced a challenge that we can't even get parts anymore for them. So when we say that we try to keep a truck until we absolutely can't do anything else with it, I mean, that's where we've been in the past. And I'm hoping that going down the road that we look, like Chief said, if we even got a 15-year replacement program, that would be, we'd be ecstatic on that. And you'd see a lot of these operating costs go down. So we've dealt with age, we've dealt with numerous issues, just in the past year, and I think everybody's challenged, with what's going on with COVID. But look at engine 431 here, and you look at where we've exceeded $100,000 in our total operating. So, it's and this year you might as well add another 50 onto that realistically. So I've got another breakdown if y'all wanted to look at it for the current year on where we're at. But I assure you, this is definitely one of those trucks that it hasn't seen the road as much as it should. And that creates additional problems when you're talking safety for our citizens and safety for our firefighters. And, just like last night's fire, we talk speed and staffing or manpower to get there, even with the lightning strike that we had. So, thankfully the station was there. We had trucks that made it to the scene. They worked properly. We depend on that, just like y'all depend on us to keep you informed on these things. So, so understand that, some of these trucks have seen better days. We keep, I don't want to say dumping money into it, but there comes a point where we have to say, let y'all know that enough is enough, and that's where we've come. I mean, that heavy rescue, it's gone all the way as far as Biloxi, Mississippi during Hurricane Katrina. It's gone all over the state, and with this new heavy rescue pumper we're looking at that we would call a squad, it would be able to accommodate all this equipment and then meet some of the state's requests as far as being able to fight fire on additionally. So everything we do, we have there's a purpose behind it. We've got safety and health initiatives that are tied into these apparatus and, as you know, our fire stations. So, I think in the near future that when we talk replacement programs, we want to make sure y'all are involved and understand all the ins and outs and know that we have all the numbers to review with y'all. We don't want to come over and just say, hey, we want new trucks. So we try to do our diligence. Yes, sir.
Was Mr. Perry going to give us an update? Would that help?
Yeah.
To let him go first on the financial part of it?
Thank you, Mayor.
May answer some questions too.
Gonna come down to the podium.
I didn't see your 1932 truck on your inventory list here. How come?
Oh, that one, we try to hang on to that one as long
Do
as
you?
we can.
Engine one, that's a low
That's
budget, that's a
engine-
low
yeah,
budget truck.
It's still under warranty, so we're hanging on to it.
Still under warranty? Probably the best truck you got.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, Chief Edwards, Assistant Chief Greer. I don't have a problem with the need for this equipment. I have some comments about that Assistant Chief Gear had kind of alluded to, which is the process of what we're doing. I mean, here we have basically a piece of capital, equipment that the department has a planning cycle for, but it seems like the overall city doesn't. That is what my takeaway at 30,000 feet was. The apparatus itself and the deal before you was pretty self-explanatory. 2 pieces of fire apparatus, one was slightly larger than the other, $821,000 for one, $664,000 for the other, a total of $1.498 million. The blue light special down at the Pierce factory is that we get a $25,000 discount for prepaying on one, which represents to me 3%. And on the second apparatus, we get a 2.5% discount, and then an additional $10,000 for buying 2 trucks together. And the added benefit is they're built out a lot quicker than the 10 to 18 month typical build out. I think this is available in February, these 2 pieces of equipment. The department's made what I believe is a fairly compelling case for the need for this equipment. And if you look at the equipment it's replacing, it's fairly aged equipment. It's 17 and 23 years. So the department's done some good work, and this data is really kind of come to me in the last 24 hours, quite frankly, and I appreciate it. It's very valuable and helpful for me. And Mayor and I were talking with the command staff about this equipment, and it was more of they put it in the budget last year, and we hadn't seen this data, but we were told that it was critical need, capital infrastructure, and the like. And I think this is the type of data that you need to make your case, both to the administration and ultimately, for sure, the council at the end of the day. We don't really have a process that takes into account the citywide planning for this and how it competes with every other need of the city and the police car replacement program and the like. And the reason why is because we don't have a budget department. And the budget department was the former city administrator and his long-term knowledge of the city, which was very, very lengthy, in conjunction with the treasurer. And when you have that budget function, their job is to create planning of the overall city budget, the specific department's budget, monitoring of those budgets, and ultimately administration of the budgets. That comes down to the policies and the procedures that are related to it. Because what we're doing is we're purchasing, capital assets. And the definition from an accounting perspective is it's a productive resource that's owned with an economic value, controlled by, in this case, a government, with the expectation it will provide a future benefit. And at the end of the day, you have to make a decision on which one's a better benefit. Where's the highest bang for the buck with a limited, scarce resource? And that budget evaluation and personnel and process and policy will do that. So I think it's really important from that perspective to have such in place. One of the things that Tim alluded to, Deputy Chief Gear, is the cost of the maintenance on an older vehicle. That's what, from an accounting perspective and a business perspective, is called working capital. Not only do you have to buy the machine that's going to be a productive asset, but then you have to contribute to the process of operating it. Here it's a fire truck, basically. And so you have this working capital that's the maintenance component. You have other components of the working capital. And a good budget program will analyze that and be able to tell how much additional money from what sources are going to be necessary to keep this particular capital asset operating for its life expectancy. If you were talking about a manufacturing piece of equipment that some of you are familiar with and stuff like that, that might have a 7-year life expectancy. And so that you start doing discounted cash flow calculations, and then you say, hey, you know, there's a lot of benefit to our balance sheet overall in trying to calculate how we get the most out of it by improving the working capital numbers and things like that. I mean, you're kind of getting in the weeds, but it's important to do that so that ultimately we can give you some financial finance analysis on those kinds of things. Right now, I think what I've seen is, you know, and I think a lot of cities do this, it's kind of allocate your resources to the problem that's the largest at the time. And sometimes it has to be done that way. I get it. I think this is probably an example of that. But sometimes you want to be more strategic in life than that approach. And so I'll start to, you know, just conclude here that the procedures that we're talking about, you know, it should go through a department workup, as it has in this case, with a package that has all this information, then go to a budget department that analyzes the proposal from a finance perspective, a programmatic perspective, an HR perspective, and everything else, ultimately to myself for review, and then to a briefing to counselors so that you're told about this, no violation of Sunshine Act. You know, we're not asking for votes, but you should be briefed on it because we're asking you to write a check that 5 people have to sign for $1.5 million, and a mayor has to basically also get involved in the approval process in his role, and myself. And so ultimately, you know, it concludes with a vote before city council, but it's a thoughtful, informed, educated, analyzed vote. And I think you'll see in my proposed operating budget that I'm trying to develop that budget function, because the budget function seemed to be a little bit too ad hoc, in my opinion, for a city that expends a lot of money on capital. So with that, I'll stand for any questions, or otherwise substantively or technically turn it over to the department.
Okay. Yeah, okay, so, well, number one, this situation, I don't see it as a big deal at all, because I knew that this was coming up. I mean, we talked about these equipment and the 1.2 million. So it's now a little bit more. There's a discount, but this was coming our way anyway. So doing this quicker makes sense to me. So next, it sounds like there's a recommendation that instead of trying to squeeze 20 years out of this equipment, we go to 15. That's going to cost money, right? So we have to figure out how that's going to work into our future plans. And then lastly, what's the next time bomb out there, and how much? Because I remember a few years ago we bought a ladder truck for $1 million. So what's?
I think you're going to be looking at another one, Mr. Mayor, Councilor Ruff. The aerial equipment we have probably needs to be upgraded. I think that's fairly high up on the department's capital list. And I'm remiss to not point out that we have $1.25 million in this year's FY21 budget for this. That's basically half-cent infrastructure money. Mm-hmm. And we're going to need to basically modify the budget with probably a budget adjustment request mm-hmm. to get authorization to fund the full 1.498 in this year's FY21, not the FY22. And lastly, on point 15 years replacement, that's another function that a budget analyst or program can do to try to look at the overall city's police cars, gyms trucks, and put this all together, so we're not catch as catch can. I'm not saying it's that way. It's just that it's a little bit more formalized and thoughtful, in my opinion.
But that's going to affect future budgets, because, I mean, obviously, if you're replacing equipment in 15 years instead of 20, it's going to be more expensive to keep fleet running. That's just the way it is.
Yes and no, because to the extent of you might have cost savings in the working capital side that actually shows that you're better off replacing that 12 than not spending it on the other side. I guess it has to be carefully looked at.
Right.
And you probably caught one of the comments by Chief Gear as related to one of the prior trucks that's, I think, it might have been the heavy rescue he was referring to, was actually bought partially with grant money. And I always like the concept of leveraging other funding for this type of capital. It's public safety capital, and there's usually a lot of other outside funding opportunities at the state, federal, and sometimes the private level. We got our Scott packs, our air packs, actually. There was a large non-denominational church that used to donate every year a couple of $100,000 to pay for those. It was entirely private.
Okay. Well, I mean, I did add up. I mean, it's just on the big figure stuff that, you know, there's easily $500,000 last year on keeping some trucks alive. But that's you know, that's several trucks over the cost of at you know, 821 or 664. I mean, yeah, it's in the long run it's better, but in the short run, you know, it's. I mean, most people keep their old family car running as long as they can because they don't want. But this is safety equipment, so we don't want to get into that.
Yeah, I got to go pick up my truck in St. Petersburg. It's got 151,000 miles. It's 12, 13 years old, and it's going to be over $5,000 for the repair. I'm wondering what the value of the truck is. You know, whether $5,000 is a good investment or a bad investment. Yeah.
Mr. Sanders?
Yes, I agree with you, Mr. Perry. I've always had a problem with how we've done it over the period of time since I've been here, is that we get these $1 million requests and we didn't see it coming because we didn't have somebody that analyzes this and tells us in advance that we're reserving for this $1 million expenditure, and just all of a sudden, well, let's just do it this year. I like that idea because that way there's no surprises, and it makes it easier to operate the city. So I'm assuming you're asking that future forward we go and have that in place, and I agree with that. And I heard you say something I didn't understand here, is that you're asking for additional $250,000 in 2021 budget, not the next year's budget. Is that correct?
I believe so. I think have to be the necessary funding.
Okay. So why wouldn't we just for example, purchase one with to-build order and budget it in the second year, next year? Would that be a possibility?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Sanders, it is a possibility, but you'd basically be
You're going to lose your discount. Well, maybe not. Maybe you can negotiate the discount.
Perhaps you might be able to. There's two things at play. One is the
discount's not that large, but
on the vehicle itself. The second is the multi-vehicle discount, and lastly is the time of the build-out that's at jeopardy, I think, in that. And so you'd all have to. And I wish I had a spreadsheet that said this is the cost of that. You know.
So you're not recommending that?
I'm not. You and I had some discussions about this issue, and I had mixed feelings about whether that was a possibility. And I think, as I stand before you currently, I think it's probably just best to appropriate on this one and get approval for the purchase order. As a matter of fact, the procurement on this is done pursuant to a government contract. It's not that they go out and competitively bid. They engage on a list of already approved vendors and equipment. I don't know the specific details yet with the familiarity with that, but.
So do we have any large purchases in your budget for next year for the fire department?
Let me.
No, nothing to this extent. And one thing we did talk to Administrator Perry about is that we'd hopefully give them a year relief to get caught up, and then we'd discuss the ladder truck that we're looking at.
That's a maybe, isn't it?
So that's that's what we're shooting for.
Okay.
And,
But
you know, that we're,
long as you agree with him that this needs a little more analysis.
Oh, it definitely does, and I think the analysis side really needs, you know, work, his input from the accounting perspective, and then also, you know, we always welcome ideas from y'all as the council and
Yeah, and I discussed this with you. I believe last year we talked about like one pumper and maybe a half of another truck or something less than that. You said yes, that's true, and the thinkology was on that was because we've had some small streets in the village and over in Bradenton Castle, and you can't get those trucks there. So you've given up that idea, or do you have another plan?
I haven't given up on that idea, or we haven't, I should say. Is that, you know, we still want to look at what would meet city needs most effective.
Okay.
And you know, the mayor's got good vision. I think all of you do as well, on where, you know, you'd like to see our department and what rolls out. And I know the new administrator has talked about additional funding. And, you know, just currently right now with the condition of our fleet, you know, it's not that we don't want to do that. I just think that we have to look at what we need immediately. And then once our fleet is back where I think we can be in good working condition, then I think we could address
I think I have
something
two more
like that.
questions.
Oh, and one more thing, going back to your former questions about negotiations, I tried negotiating everything I could all the way back to October 1, and even this meeting is that if I don't give them an answer today, it was going to be, we would lose some opportunity there. So I just want to let you know that we do go back and forth and just do everything we can.
Right, that's good to hear because you know how I feel about that.
Yes, sir.
I think that's a big savings. Two questions. One, we don't do any water rescue, do you, through the farm? We do. I didn't see any equipment on here.
Well, I only pulled out the truck, our problematic vehicles out of the rolling stock that you see. So you would see the water rescue equipment on the full rolling stock report. And I just knew we wouldn't have to get it. We wouldn't have time to get into the whole thing today.
Okay, I didn't. Yeah, okay.
So, anyways, we'll provide that, and we do.
You do.
But you know, once again, you know, it's like anything. We track expense on that, and
I'd like to have a list of this if you can provide that. This what you've given here. That's helpful. That tells me what you got and what the future could be.
Yes, sir.
By the age and the maintenance cost, that's exactly the analysis that you need. Is that how old is it? How many breakdowns has it? Is it a major piece of equipment that's critical, or is it a backup unit? And what has been the cost? You know, the fuel cost. I don't know. That was in there. That's not really important. The last question, I promise, that you keep a report. I don't know if you keep it monthly of how many fire calls that we have. And at one point, there was a couple of years ago, we had like 10,000 fire calls, but most of those were EMS supplemental calls, or whatever you want to call it. Is that basically where it is today?
yes, sir. We still trend about 80. I'll say 80-20.
80-20.
80% EMS. You know, car accident. You know, which we call a medical call, but you call it a rescue call.
So what's your opinion on that? It seems, you know, that we're getting a lot of people ask me all the time, why is a fire truck there? Yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's a great question, you know, and that goes back in our history. I don't know if you want to talk
Well, it's
about
done everywhere all over the country.
But yeah,
But I didn't know if that was something that's just built into, you know, like.
It is built into what we do, you know, and that's where it came down to where EMS, they don't have the ability to carry extrication equipment. You know, there's always potential for fires on vehicle accidents, where you see that. You know, there was a need even for like, I'll say EMS type calls with ALS type procedures, where all of us are trained in EMS up to an EMTB level, and you know, to where we respond with them and provide. A lot of times we show up. We could have the potential to show up first.
Right.
You know, even
that
with
happens. And I
overdoses.
see that they're first, and somebody's having a heart attack. But you're limited on what you can do because you don't have the certifications for medical
We're somewhat
assistance.
limited, you know, and that's one thing that even as I'll say, you know, advancements come along is that even with CPR, they keep defaulting back to the the simplistic idea of early defibrillation.
But you don't have defibrillators on your trucks.
We do.
You
We
do?
do.
So you can do the defibrillation
Yes, sir.
if somebody's having a heart attack? Okay.
Yes, sir.
I didn't know that. Okay, that's great.
So we
Because you
don't
might
push
be the
for
first one there.
Right, correct.
So what are you gonna do over in Braden Castle when all those little people try to, boom, boom, you can't get down the street? What truck do you use?
Well, we plan ahead for that. So we just force our way in there and then back out slowly. So, but yeah,
I saw that one night, and that didn't work out too good.
It's tight.
There's a
It's
few
tight.
places through the city.
Oh, I know that. That village there?
Yeah.
That's why I thought that smaller truck was kind of one of those items you were gonna use.
And that's kind of where we leaned there for a little while. We were going with the old Freightliners. That works out really good for Engine 11, which is our downtown. We run the wheels off of that thing. First out at Station 2, kind of the same thing. If it was going to fit anywhere, it would probably be out there. The problem we have with that, it is a smaller vehicle. And a lot of times when we go down on engines and we've got to shuffle them around, we've got to use that thing in different spots, and it just doesn't work. I can't get but really 2 people sitting on that thing comfortably. But the guys love it downtown. It really meets our needs, and I'd love to be able to go to something like that.
Right, so you could probably use that more often. You're saying, I don't know if I understand what you're saying. Are you saying that it's not comfortable, it's not adequate, or could it be used versus taking that great big fire truck out into trying to wedge it down to Braden Castle, and you could have another unit could be used for everything?
Right. That Freightliner is a 4-seater, but all the equipment that we try to fit on that smaller piece of apparatus, there's stuff in the cab that you can only fit 2 people comfortably. If you open the door and look inside it, you'd be surprised all the equipment that we have sitting all through it. It's just difficult to swap them out.
You have to have 4 people, can you have 2 men?
On our quick attacks, a lot of times it's 2 people, but
With
if I have to move it
defibrillators
around-
and that kind of stuff that gets there first and faster?
If I have to move it around, if I have to use it in place of, say, an engine 12, I've got 4 guys sitting on that.
Yeah, I just get these questions, why is there a great big 50-foot
It is, and a lot of
fire
times it's
engine there
manpower.
that's all it's doing blocking traffic?
EMS usually shows up with 2 people. We're there with at least 2, and it just, especially if it's an ALS call, we're there to provide manpower too, the working
Thank
code.
Well,
Ms. Barnaby?
I'm sorry.
Would you prefer to answer that? Go ahead. I got time. No, go ahead.
Go right ahead. Go right ahead. I don't want to interrupt you.
I know from experience that many times we do beat the ambulance there. And I know that we have citizens in the city of Bradenton that are alive to walk around today because we are the people that saved them first. So and that's why, if you all might remember back in the day, there was a rumor that went around about all of the fire station or fire districts becoming one big mega district. And at that time, we had liaisons to the departments, and I was the liaison to the fire department, and the message I sent was, anytime you all want to raise your standards and come up to ours, I would be happy to consider that. Still hasn't happened. Number 2, when we were talking about the fact that you're having difficulty with some of these pieces of equipment. We used to have someone on our staff, either with the department or with Mr. McClellan's department, that was certified to work on these things, and you have to have someone that is certified to work on them.
We do. You need to have a EVT, certified EVT to work on these fire trucks. There's some things that we can still take it over to the garage for, oil change, tires, I guess. But there's certain things that we have to. So right now, until the garage can get these folks trained up and are capable of it over there, we've been taking it out. North River has offered up their EVT. We can take it across the bridge. We've gone to Leland to use theirs. There's different options out there. Right now, we're sending a ton of our equipment over to 10-8, and they're doing it. And they're great over there, but it's a big organization, and they fit us in when we can, and it's costly. And that's kind of where our budget is going through the roof on.
Well, and understand that, and that's why I'm going to support this. One of the other reasons is that you are using 10-8. which is a local company, and it hires local people. So when we spend this kind of money, I like to see it being spent locally.
Yeah, and you had mentioned that the mechanic before, that was Bob Marlowe. He handled all of our equipment, and this guy was top-notch. I mean, he took so much pride in our equipment, and he knew it inside and out. I'd love to find somebody like that, maybe even put on our payroll. Ideally, I'd like to find a firefighter that I could get certified as an EVT. You know, you just have ownership. You got, you know, they want to do the right things. You're not going to drive down the road and worry about a dually on the back tires falling off. You know, that couldn't have been helped. That's no blame to anybody, but there's little things that you can dig in a little deeper and really find and take care of this equipment. Believe me when I tell you, we get the most out of it. These guys come in the mornings at 8 o'clock and they start right in on checking apparatus and cleaning and going through it. We got them on creepers now, sliding underneath there trying to find these little things, oil leaks and things like that.
I think Ms. Coker had some questions.
Just one.
I was waiting until they were done. Ms. Coker?
Yeah, there was some comments made recently about the size of the openings at the new station. Are we cognizant of that? Are we okay? We've checked that?
We
Okay.
are. It is tight, but it's, a lot of that was to afford more room in the base, kind of condensing a little bit. It's standard size. One nice thing about being out there is they're drive-through bays. That you'll come in from the back and you're hitting them straight on. You're not necessarily backing in off of 59th. We could do it, but it's careful. It's just about what we've got right now.
Okay.
We're at the old station.
Mr.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that was it.
If we don't have any other questions at this time, I'd like to make the motion that we execute the equipment proposal number 756 and 657 as presented to us today to purchase the 2 replacement fire apparatus.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll start the vote. Ward 4?
Yes.
5?
Yes.
1?
Yes.
2?
Yes.
3?
Yes.
Thank you, guys. Carries 5-0.
No more burnouts in the parking lot causes that rear end to go out. Those trucks are not designed for that.
And also, now our heavy rescue will be heavy rescue. It'll be able to put a fire out, too.
All right, moving forward, we're going to go to Katerina Siren, our CRA Executive Director.
Good morning. Katerina Geragio Siren, CRA Executive Director. We're here to present to you and discuss the amended and restated land use restriction agreement between 3 parties, the City Council, the CRA Board, and Pearl Homes. So you are our first meeting acting as the City Council. And I'll put a picture, a map, for those that are not familiar with our property. So this property is the former Manatee Inns, and the proposed development is for the Metropolitan. Back in 2000, and it will be a approximately 200-unit workforce housing in the 14th Street CRA in the center of our city. This parcel was this property is 4 parcels that back in 2019, the CRA advertised through an RFP process, and the CRA board selected Pearl Homes to be the developer for this property, and it was a competitive bid process. On August 27, 2020, the city entered into a land use restriction agreement. Going forward, I'll be using the acronym LURA, and to construct and operate a workforce multifamily rental housing project for 15 years from the date of the agreement. On June 23rd, 2021, the CRA board approved a TIF agreement incentive for this project due to the negative impact of COVID. And as part of the negotiations, Pearl Homes made some adjustments. So because of the new terms, we had to amend and restate the original LURA between, again, the city, the CRA, and Pearl Homes. So in your packet, you have the proposed agreement, and I have put together some of the main points to go over with you. So as some general information that is included in the agreement, the developer will add a vehicular access point from 13th Avenue West, in addition to the vehicular access points that were already on 13th Street West. Workforce housing expiration was extended from 2035, which was the 15 years from 2020. Now it will be around 2038 to 2039, depending on when construction will be completed and the CO will be approved. The developer will use the best efforts to begin construction on or before September 1st, 2021, but no later than January 1st, 2022, subject to the force majeure legal extensions. Construction is expected to be completed within 18 months following commencement, but no later than January 1st, 2024, subject to legal extensions. The city and the CRA will both have the right to review and audit the housing units and appropriate records and receive an annual report from the developer. As additional assurance of performance, owner's principals will execute a guarantee of completion of construction or construction completion agreement with owner's mortgage lender. Additionally, if there is an unintentional mistake in the lease, for example, the renter has income over the 120%, that is the average median income for workforce housing, or the developer or their management team has charged higher rent, the developer will cure the problem. For example, if the tenant has misrepresented the income, they will be evicted. And if the management company by mistake charged higher rent, they will receive all excess amount of the rent that they paid. From the city perspective, the main item that you need to be aware of is that the CRA is providing the incentive payments, and the CRA is expected to pay that incentive. However, if the CRA is dissolved prior to the incentive payment being paid out in full, the city will be responsible for the payment of any remaining incentives. And I'm just including, I know this is not the CRA board meeting, but just so you're familiar and aware what the CRA, some items that affect the CRA is that the CRA will provide the annual payments of $185,333.33 until the total incentive amount is paid out, which was $2.78 million. Prior to the payment of the TIF incentive, the developer will provide an annual report and proof of payment of all taxes due. If construction has not begun by January 1st of 2022, the CRA will have the option to purchase the property back for $550,000 plus closing costs, which was the purchase price that the developer received it from the CRA in 2020. If developer does not have a CO by January 1st, 2024, subject to legal extensions, the CRA incentive payment will be reduced by 1% each month thereafter. And for those that are not great in math, I did some calculations so you can see that.
$1,850.
So, let me make it a bit. So if the CO is received after every month that it's delayed, the construction is delayed, you can see how that incentive amount is reduced. So I just calculated the first 12 months. On the left column, the blue side, it's from the total CRA incentive. And then I also broke it down to yearly incentives. So after so if they don't complete, I apologize. After 12 months, the total incentive from the 2.78 million will be reduced by 315,850, and from a yearly perspective, instead of 185,333, it will be reduced by 21,057 cents. So with that, the developer is here. Mr. Marshall Gabuti from Pearl Homes is also here. So we're here to answer any questions that you may have.
I have a question for you.
Mr. Rolfe had raised first, so go ahead, Mr. Rolfe.
Thank you. First off, Katarina, thank you so much for working so hard on this, and Marshall, thank you for working with us on this. I think that the desire is that we keep you working forwards on this, keep you moving. You know, you needed the incentive because of COVID and the construction costs. We wanted to work with you. I think the big advantage that we got out of this too was that we found out that the old LORA, or Land Use Restriction Agreement, was not the best in the world for the city. So we were able to put things in here that guaranteed the city. You know, the previous administration could have done a better job on that, but that being said, we're in better shape now. So not only, you know, the incentives are in place, which, you know, this is what CRAs are for. This is a, you know, workforce housing project. This is going to help that area greatly. Nobody wants to see it, you know, delayed and/or losing. So I'm just thrilled that everyone was able. I know this was a lot of work. I know I was keeping tabs of it daily, and I want to thank everyone for working so hard to keep this on track. This is all excellent stuff. I like where we're at. I'm very comfortable on where we're at right now, so thank you.
Mr. Sanders?
I have a question for you before our prospective purchaser there it comes up. That chart that you just put up, that's not in our packet, is it?
No, it is not.
Okay, do you have an extra copy of that? And put it back up there if you would, and that'd be fine. The monthly incentive amounts is $1,754. What's the 1 month delay over there of about whatever that totals?
It's $183,480. So a reduction of approximately $1,850 approximately.
I'm sorry?
Every month, it would be a reduction of, I'm sorry, for the yearly would be a reduction for $1,853.
$1,800.
Correct, for being delayed 1 month.
So that's not, what's the 315?
That is the total loss from the original, from the 2.78 million. So at the end of the 15 years, instead of the developer would receive, instead of 2.78 million, they would receive approximately 2.45 million.
There's a 12-month.
I'm not getting it. Well, so, because
This is
you're
a-
saying for a 12-month delay, you're saying,
This is only if according to the proposed agreement, if the developer does not receive a CO by January 1st of 2024, but instead they receive the CO by January 1st,
it's going to be
2025,
21,000.
then they would have lost from the total 2.78 million, they would have lost 315,000.
Oh, you're saying so as that goes down, that's capped for the next 14 years, or 14 and a half years?
Correct.
Okay, so that's how much it goes down per month.
Per month.
And
I
then-
only
and
did
then-
the first year, so you can see I didn't do 15
Okay,
years worth
first year you
of
lost,
that.
but
but-
then that, okay, I got it. All right, thanks.
Mrs. Coachman?
With that understanding, is losing that little bit an incentive to be on time?
No.
I mean, I mean, this may not sound like I'm making a lot of sense, but I'm sure it's not going to be a year delayed in any way, but you're not going to lose a whole lot if you're not on time. And I'm thinking back to when the original agreement was, what, in 2019? Am I
2019
correct?
is when the developer was selected, and it took a year for the whole agreement
Oh, okay,
to be
okay.
signed. So August of 2020 is when the LURA, the previous agreement, was signed.
Okay, because I was thinking COVID, and I heard 2019, and I was like, well, what was the delay in between? You know, that wasn't
was some
necessarily COVID.
There
You
was
know,
delay,
that was some other things, I guess. So that's why I was saying, you know, we might have to give a little more incentive to be on time. And this doesn't look like a whole lot of loss.
If I can.
So the public knows, what did a CRA purchase this property for back in whatever?
It's in the records. in the-
I think it's 1.9 million.
Well,
I think it's 1.2, wasn't it?
1.2? I thought that was the appraisal.
That was the appraised value at about 1.1, 1.2. I
Appraised
don't
value
know.
was 1.2. I think the purchase price was 1.9.
well, that was a whole different time. You would have had.
I know, but I'm just saying what,
Yeah.
for the purpose of the record,
Yeah.
what the city has invested in it. To me, it's 1.9, but here we're talking about history again. So our ask here is that we absorb 1.4 million on the purchase deduction, which is what we should be doing in CRA. That's what they are for. Now we're asked for another 2.78, so that totals, I'm getting to, is over $4 million. That's a pretty large ask.
Can I respond to that?
Mr. Roth, I think, wanted to
Okay,
respond.
go ahead.
I mean, so this came up, you know, the CRAs previously, you know, it may be said that, some might say that the property was overpaid for or not. If you saw what was there, the slum and blight that was there, it was literally third world. I mean, getting rid of that was worth whatever it cost. And the owner knew that he was the slum and blight king of the world, and he actually capitalized on it. So that being said, that was done a long time ago by a whole different entity that no longer exists. So here we are now. I know that this came up when the Gorman project came through, which was a really good project, of Artist Lofts, and, you know, and a council person blew that meeting up because he was the first person to realize that, you know, not only did you know, was the property possibly overpaid, but due to the real estate slump that had happened, you know, that their monies that were thought were there did not exist. They were gone. They were evaporated. They either, it was overpaid or lost valuations, but that cost a really good project, a lot of money focusing on cost and sale. I mean, what we're trying to do is urban redevelopment. You know, that's the goal. That's the game here, is we're trying to get urban redevelopment done. This agreement, 'cause I know that we've been working through it, you know, is under the old law, there wasn't any criteria in here. There was no safeguards for the taxpayers, zeros, none. This is now something that the applicant has agreed to, you know, our director has worked on. Could there and should there have been better? Yeah, right up front, a long time ago, but there wasn't. But also the ask wasn't there, so but it is what it is, and I would say, knowing how this works, is that if you don't start on time, you're gonna lose a lot more money than what we're talking about here. I mean, is this not a business model? Don't you plan on making money on this by renting it out some point in time? I mean, what would your real losses be if you delay this for, some, you know, a year? I mean, what's?
Thank you, Councilman. And if I could answer the councilman's question. When we came for the first RFQ, it's a
Please state your name for the record.
Marshall Gabati, principal of Pearl Homes, and I'm under oath. When the RFQ was rumored to be coming out, what we did was we bought a half an acre about 100 yards away from the Manatee Inn site. It was a third party, unrelated. They were asking a certain price. We negotiated, we bought it, we closed on it. And then when this RFQ came up, what we did was we took the number of acres, multiplied by that, what we paid, and came up with Mrs. Anderson, my 10th grade math teacher, helping me with X equals, and it came out to be 550,000. That's how we came to that number. And I, you know, restrictions is a tough word, but this agreement that the CRA, the public sector, the government, the attorneys, the CRA, one more time, I've never been through anything so detailed, and I've done a few things in my career. This has been amazing because for someone that's so proud to be part of the city is, it's not even close it's like a level of 1 to a level of 1 million protected. If we don't start, sir, to be candid with you, so right now we're at 1.7 million invested cash, including the land, architects, plans, third party. All third party expenses are almost 1.8 million today. If we don't start by 1/1, the city can buy everything back for 550 plus a closing cost. So we've given ourselves, we are going to start early. There's been silt fence put up. We're doing some things and working with the zoning to accelerate, our approval process. We're very confident to execute because we're now talking with our money. We're not talking like we'll try our hardest and we're really good guys and trust us and we're nice people. No, this is really serious. And if we don't start really 1/1, and if we don't complete by 1/1/24, we lose it. And so I think, from our side as a developer, I preferred the first one, of course, because I was a walk in the park. That was something that was very easy to work with. But now I think this will bring more private sector investment into the workforce housing world because of what you've done here. And I think it's, I get it. I wish COVID didn't happen. I wish a lot of things didn't happen, but we're ready. We're charged. We will make this happen. We'll make all of you very proud because this is our first big workforce housing project. And we have given timeframes to the CRA. We will beat those timeframes. And I just would say to you that with the restrictions that are put upon us, our personal guarantees that we've actually now shown to the city that we have the same commitment on delivery with the lender, which is Centennial Bank, we have the same restrictions on us on those guarantees. So we're in a great spot. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but we're ready to go and we want to make this impressive.
Well, that was going to be my comment because as a realtor, I have this discussion with homeowners all the time. What you paid for it does not reflect what the market value is. The way he figured the market value, I think he paid market value, and he's an owner of the property. And I just think that the discussion that you're missing also is that there were a lot of costs that were saved by tearing that down and purchasing that. And so, yeah, I'm a little put off by throwing out 1.9 million. The property probably is worth 550, and it's going to be a great opportunity for us, and I want to do everything we can to support it. I think it's great that we have some incentives in there to get you going quicker.
Yeah.
But, I'm ready to make a motion to approve it if there's no further discussion.
Unless you want to make a motion and then questions,
Discussion,
but can I have discussion now?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay.
There's
I
a
know-
motion. Let me see if there's a second
second the
first.
motion.
Okay, so
For
we got a motion,
discussion
second,
purposes.
discussion.
Yeah,
Okay. For the record, you weren't here, Ms.,
I was here. I just wasn't on council,
okay.
but I was a citizen.
For the record, it was, I believe, purchased for 1.9 million. You say it doesn't matter. I agree. We can give it away if we want, but we were offered 1 million cash at the same offering for the RFQ in 2019. So don't say that was market value. I will argue with you because we have on record another RFQ from another developer for $1 million. So I'm not sure that was market value. And I'll let you speak. That's okay. Go ahead.
Now, sir, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fine, but I'm not done. Okay.
Just to that one point, there was three of us at the time, and we were studying all the offers as they came up, writing everything down. They also asked for a loan at the same time. three of the parties, we're the only ones that didn't ask for upfront money for you to give it back to us. And we sit here after 2 years, and now
I
we're at this
understand.
stage. But it was the million, and they also asked for money up front.
But here, and the reason we went, one of the major reasons we went with you is because you was ready to start in
Yes, sir.
2 or 3 months.
Yes, sir.
And now it's been 2 years.
It's been too
2
long.
years,
sir.
and I'm not gonna blame COVID on all that.
No.
You said you bought a half acre for a model. Did you build that model?
No, it's a micro unit.
You have it there?
Yes, we have. No, the Met's the first priority. We purchased that to understand the land value and to see where the market would be.
But you were supposed to put a model on that we could visit.
No, it's a micro unit. It's another apartment building. Nothing to do with the.
You have on a half acre?
Yes,
When did that get completed?
No, it's not completed yet, sir. The focus is
Okay,
on
that's what I'm
Met.
getting at. We were supposed to look at that as a model for what this apartment was to be. And so you're telling me 2 years later, that model is not even built.
Well, they're two separate issues.
I know they
They
are.
were not even close to the same kind of product, sir. Like
Oh,
one.
okay, then I don't understand why you offered it as a model to go through as what you was proposing for this land. But that's
I
moving
understand.
on.
You could be right, sir. You're right.
So this is a large, so on June 23rd, you came in here and you said that you were definitely, I was the one that made the comment. I said, I'm tired of this, kicking the football down the road, and you said September 1 was definite.
Yes.
Now, it's January 1. You're really scaring me.
And first of all, I apologize for scaring you, but I got to tell you candidly,
I'm not scared of much, but I'm scared that the development won't get finished.
Well, no, I'm scared of what's going on in the market, what's going on out there.
So are you committed to it?
Beyond committed to it. All of our vendors have bought in trades. Our loan has been approved. We're ready to start. How this works is
What's the difference between September 1 and why do you ask for 6 or 4 more months?
a lot of Murphy's Law. We still have to get some zoning things resolved. We're changing a
But
road.
since June, you have not done that.
No, because
You have not been to the planning department to make all those preparations.
we've been engaging the zoning department with many things back and forth with different designs.
Is your site plan on record?
Our site plan is on record, yes, sir. But the updated site plan, which now has the other 13th Street access, that as well has been, that's what we have to work on now, and that's what we have to accelerate to get that approved. There's no sense in in redoing that road, adding the other access until you said it was okay and that's what we were going to do.
Well,
Mr. Sanders, just to clarify, that was at a CRA meeting, though, not the council meeting.
But
that
it's
you
all-
came to.
but-
I know, but just so if somebody's thinking they missed it at a council meeting, that was through a CRA meeting. So, good point. I'm not changing that. I just didn't want somebody thinking it was here at the city council at that time.
And Mr. Sanders, by the way, if I was sitting in your position, I think I'd say the exact same words. And I can sit here in front of you because I'm going to be looking at you when I come for the CO. And when I'm going to look for you and I ask for some more opportunities, we got this down. We got this down. And beyond the fact that we're actually gone through, like, the restrictions that allow the city to buy the property back for us to have material loss and our limitations, and the fact that, we are respected in the community, that we do what we say, I admit, it did drag a year longer than it should. Absolutely. Forget COVID. But now it's not, and now we're ready to go, and we want to make this difference. But I do understand your position, sir.
Disagree with you because it was 2 months ago, you promised January 1, and now the back end, you're extending that out. So I would not do this without penalty of completion. Just like a construction contract on a road, bridge, or a building, that you can have all the time you want, but you're going to get, you're not going to pay the penalty. We're going to reduce it off of the $185,000 a year, and it has to be substantial. It can't be $21,000. That's peanuts. We have to have a substantial penalty for not starting and not ending on time, because anything can happen in 2 years. I don't know the financial wherewithal of your company. You could be bankrupt. You say you personally sign it. I assume that means husband and wife as a personal signature with personal assets that back this up. Is that what you mean?
Myself and my 3 partners individually are personally guaranteeing the loan?
Are personally guaranteeing it as an individual or as an officer of the
Individual, sir, not.
individual? So you and your wife.
Not my wife. We've
They
kept
have to do that to make it binding, to make it, because in a divorce, she gets half or she takes, so both husband and wife, I finance millions of these. Both husband and wife have to, are you committed to that? Husband and wife of all three partners.
So the bank documents that we have now in front of us have the principals, all four of us,
Principals are part of the corporation, which is an LLC, right?
and our individual capacity, individually and as a corporate. But individually, we're personally guaranteeing, not as a
I'd
company.
have to get a legal opinion on that, but I've always saw that the personal guarantee involved the family. We leave the kids out of it.
No,
And that's about the only thing you get
I
to
would
keep
there
if
too.
you default.
I wouldn't mind bringing one of the kids on.
Well, that might be,
Okay,
that was a joke, but I know it wasn't very funny, but you mortgage almost everything except your kids when you personally guarantee.
I understand. And, nobody likes at this age to personally guarantee anything. Like,
Absolutely not, because, hey,
I mean,
I like my cars and so forth, and I won't personally guarantee anything. I can guarantee
But
you that.
in this project, at this time, this is what needs to be done.
All right. I would be against this without severe penalties for completion and start date.
Mrs. Coachman?
I am supportive of this. I made a comment that I wanted to make sure that the incentive was enough to get you going, and it looks like you have that this time to get going. So just to clarify. I can't spell that. But just to clarify that my comment was really not to indicate I don't support this. It's just, I just wanted to make sure it was enough incentive for you to get started on September 1.
It's interesting how, words, when they get put on a piece of paper, start to scare the heck out of people.
Mhm.
So believe me, like, we had two companies installing silt fence out last Friday because it's a big deal. Yes, we understand.
But one more comment.
Yes, sir.
In my ward, there was a developer back in 2000, 2002, bought 60-some-odd homes, put a lot of money into it, went bankrupt, had about $20 million in it, and the new developer come in and bought it for $4 million. I'm not suggesting that with you. I don't know your personal wealth or commitment to this, but those things happen. And so that sat over there for 20 years, undeveloped, we actually, and the city vacated streets for that developer, did a lot, and it still wasn't enough. But the city suffered with a section of town that we created slum and blight. We didn't undo it. There was slum and blight there, but we created more. Things happen, and that's why you discuss it before you sign the documents. Not say, I wished I could have, would have, should have done it. And I want this project, but I'm trying to set protections in case the what-ifs come up.
And I see that, and I think that, between the city, the CRA and the city's attorney and Katerina and our attorney, literally, I can't even tell you, countless hours negotiating so many points. We have to start by, it's not perfect. So, by the way, yes, starting on 8-1 is better than 1-1, but we know we're going to start, we're the 9-1, and we have to finish. If we don't start by 1-1, sir, it's not like I can come here and talk to you. It's done. It's over. We're going to lose $1.6 million out the window. So, yes.
$1.6 million from June 23rd to now?
No, I've spent since the day that we signed the LURA till now, it's closer to 1.8, and it's all third party.
June 23rd, when you come in here and said start date, September, how much have you invested from that date to right today? Well,
85.
actually, it's only been.
It's just an architectural changing that we've already begun changing the plans for the new access on 13th, so about $65,000.
65. So $65,000 changed it from September 1 to January 1?
No, sir. The January 1 is like what we do in this agreement. Like if let's say 9/1 is the start date, right?
That's what I thought it was.
Right. No, and like we got a hurricane, something happens, and then we say, you can't start till 9/20 or 10/6. Something happens.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about 4 more months.
If I could answer that, because the September date is still the start date, but when Katerina and I looked at it and we said, okay, That's the date that he's promising to start by, but what if he doesn't? And we need to put in a fallback date for, if they don't get going, then the city needs to be able to reacquire the property. Okay, so.
Is that in the original agreement?
No. So that's where the January 1 came from. He's still, under the contract, supposed to be hitting the September 1st date. The January 1 date was one that we added to say, okay, you're supposed to start by September 1, but if for some reason we get to January and you still haven't started, then the city gets to reacquire the property.
And I just,
And that was with was that with a 1% penalty? Reduction?
That's the back end.
that's on the
That's on the
back
back
end. We did not recommend that. It was
On the back
Mr.
end for not
Gabuti and his attorney
completing it.
recommended it, but we negotiated and we felt that if he doesn't start by September 1st, give him a little bit of wiggle. That was part of the negotiations that we said, okay, we're okay if you start by January 1st. We did not propose that, but we agreed to that as part of the negotiations. So on the front end, the teeth that the city and the CRA have is that he has to start construction by January 1st of 2022. So between now and then, he has to start construction, or we can purchase the property back.
What's the definition of start construction? That's
The
pretty
commence
ambiguous.
construction is usually standard in every contract, but you wanna,
Well, I don't know if I will drive by there, what, is it throwing some 2x4s out on a skid someplace that started, or is that foundations put in?
I think if I could answer, a pure start, I would believe, would be infrastructure. The infrastructure is being put in, the roads, the pipes, and then vertical would be that. So when I say start something, it would be the infrastructure starting. In other words, putting the roads, the pipes, the everything that goes underground goes first, and then the vertical goes after that. So it's not putting up a fence, it's not digging a hole, it's not taking out 4 trees. We know where we are, and I see your eyes, okay, so I have known you after all this time. No, I know where you are, but I also hope you can, really feel what we're saying, that we acknowledge what went on.
I do, but I thought we'd already been through that.
No, but we are, but what happened was, sir, there was I've never done a LURA before, and so it was new for us to do this, but what the city has now is not even close to what there was before. We have specifics that we have to perform or we're out. There's no more talking. And they're tough. They're tight ones. It's not like we have wiggle room. No, with the city.
Our new Laura.
Our new what?
Our new agreement that's we had a 1-page agreement, sir. I think this one is.
Well, shame on us.
10 pages? No, but
Shame on us.
Well, I guess also too, the city at the time really didn't have that type of.
Agreement either, but thanks for.
But we're really, I would say to you, if we can look like mean eyes to eyes and I can look at you, this is going to happen. And you know what? A worst case is I won't let you down. See how I reverse that? Worst case is I won't let you down.
Mr. Sanders, Mr. Roth's got a question? All right, Mr. Roth?
Okay, well, first thing, I'm going to, just because it seems to be one of the fears that's tied into this is that, Mr. Sanders, you commented on the previous development over in your ward, which I was here when that happened. That individual came in and bought that properties up individually. We had nothing, this was not our project. He came in and acquired the entire neighborhood, private land, private ownership. It was not, that was not a city deal. And it was known that he was in trouble in his, it was called Riviera South. Riviera North was across the river. There was issues of that at the time. At this time, this was before we had corrected our comprehensive plan and land use regs. I think he targeted us because we had weak, and it was going to be, it basically, somebody was going to pay. It was either going to be the city of Bradenton was either going to get paid because he was going to get sued for Bert Harris, or Wells Fargo was going to bail him out. And so they say it's got nothing to do with this here.
Of course not, but it's an example of what
Well,
happened.
but-
And the city vacated almost 3 acres of street, public
And-
streets.
and-
And they didn't put in the clause, which was what they should have done, that if the project fails, it reverts back. So now we've given up city streets for development with no ability to get it back, and then we trade it off for our city park. I just don't agree with those types of transactions.
That came in years later. So basically, once
Doesn't matter
again,
when it was happening, that's what happened.
once again, I mean, if I could go back and redo anything in time, it would have been the Gorman project on this property, knowing that someone was gonna blow that thing up because he didn't realize that a 70-year lease was not a purchase. I mean, so we can go back and do all this. I'm just trying to put it in context, that was a whole different project, totally different circumstance, private purchases. You know, we're talking about previous administrations. This, you know, I know that the agreements that we got into, things that was said in public meetings and what wound up happening from previous administration was not true to form. We now have, thanks to these two people, a very good land use and restriction agreement that I feel comfortable with. What? And Scott, I'm sorry, and Scott. And you know, well, I mean, it wasn't in there before. These are in here now. All we got is today. Here we are. I feel comfortable that of where we are right now. I think that if this project were to fail, I think the last worry you're gonna have is the, you know, $21,000. I think you're probably gonna be more concerned about the debt you've signed on to.
Yes.
So you wouldn't have a problem then putting penalties in there, because it sounds like you're pretty 100% sure it's gonna happen anyway, so what would a penalty do?
I know what it took to get this agreement. I was checking in on this daily, because this project has been going on for 20 years. This is a classic CRA project. I know what that property looked like when the previous board, you know, bought it. Whether they overpaid or not doesn't matter, because what they bought was so slummed and blighted that it was probably one of the worst properties in the state of Florida. So
Mrs. Barnaby was here for that, so.
Yeah.
She had a question.
And no, Mrs. Barnaby doesn't have a question. Mrs. Barnaby seconded a motion a long time ago, and we've had very thorough discussion of this issue. I think we need to vote.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
The contract just has more issues in it than just the purchase price and the completion of the project. I mean, it's got language in there for signs. You can sell the property, you can, you know, your heirs can, you know, whatever. So there's language in there that I'm not agreeing with either.
So,
Don't
Mr.
support the motion.
I understand, but
let's not
Mrs.
get into
Barnaby,
one-on-one
we've got
negative,
to let the public know what we're doing. That's called transparency. And to argue that these questions are not warranted is wrong.
I did not say that, sir. What I said was, we've had a very thorough discussion of this. If you are not comfortable with this, vote your conscience.
All right, so, and again, I think that all of this was out. People knew this was on there, knew it was coming, so there was thorough opportunity for people to look at it and come up with questions if there was. But your questions are great, Mr. Sanders, and I agree with you on some of the costs. When I came in here 8+ years ago, that was my first question. Why do we pay 1 point whatever it was? I want to get the total. We'll figure that out. But then it also came to remember what that street looked like before, and that's what a CRA is to do, is to clean that up. And what cost do you put on that one? Our police department, and I believe Josh was probably around at that time, spent hours every day there trying to stop issues. So I'm a money guy like you. I don't want to pay something and sell it for a lot less, but I agree. So we have a motion and a second, and we're going to go to the vote. We're going to start in Ward 5.
Yes.
Ward 1.
Yes.
Ward 2.
Yes.
Ward 3.
Yes.
Ward 4.
No.
Thank you. Motion carries 4-1. Thank you, Mr. Gaboudi, and get it going. So, all right, Mr. Perry, any unfinished business we need to go through? Nothing further. All right, we'll go to council reports. We'll start in Ward, make sure, I think it's Ward 5 today. Yes, ma'am.
Well, just want to say I did get some calls from my ward about the trash collection, and actually it wasn't the trash, it was recycle. And the citizen was quite concerned, of course, and I suggested that he apply and add code red to his phone, so that's going to probably take care of that. However, then there was a second statement he made, and Councilwoman Barnaby, in a previous meeting, you mentioned that citizens should take into consideration how they're speaking to our employees, our staff, when they're calling in. You know, I think you referred to, you know, you wouldn't speak to your mother that way or something.
Exactly. Well, nobody would speak to my mama that way.
Exactly.
That would not have ever happened.
The same with my mom. But in this situation, a citizen was saying that staff may have said something that wasn't quite helpful in the explanation, and it did bother him a bit. And the comment was, if I were in another part of town, that comment wouldn't have been said. And I did say to him that there's frustration on both sides, and I agree that that comment should not, maybe it could have stayed in the back of that person's mind. But just to reiterate that here as we sit now with this council and with our new and old directors, we are here to serve all the citizens of Bradenton in the same way. So I was confident that that's going to be for here on and evermore, and I think that citizen also is looking forward to that. I'm going to just leave it at that.
Welcome back to school.
Oh, yes. Thank you. In fact, I better get back there.
Okay, Ms. Coker.
Yeah, that was, first off, it's back to school. And I want to wish all of the students a safe and successful year and hope that they'll keep reaching for the stars. And I also wanted to let you know that Pippin is opening tomorrow night at the Manatee Performing Arts Center. I hope everybody's going. I'll be there. And so that's about all I have right now.
You're going to find your corner of the sky? That's the song from Pippin. That's the
Oh,
big
well,
anthem.
I haven't been yet.
Okay.
Miss Barnaby.
It's a very enjoyable show.
Oh,
I think
can't
you'll
wait.
like it. I would like to thank Chief Edwards and his department. I understand we had something very potentially frightening happen yesterday in all that lightning that we had. And I want our department to know how much we appreciate everything that they do to keep our citizens safe. And I appreciate everything that they do following their procedures so they stay safe. So please share that with them. Would like to announce that the Manatee Seminole Club is going to be having its 2021 kickoff party. It will be Saturday, August 21st, from 5 until 7 p.m. at Motorworks Brewing. There is a $10 charge to participate with the party. There will be gifts, prizes, all sorts of things, a couple of vendors. I know that we have a former player coming back to speak, as well as a gentleman that participates in sports journalism covering Florida State University will be there also. And I would also like to extend my family's condolences to the family of Coach Bobby Bowden.
Thank you. And I think that even though there's Gators up here, from that standpoint, everybody loved Bobby Bowden. So there's nobody that didn't. Just what a great man he was, not only for football at Florida State, but a great man for our state and an ambassador. So that's, felt by all. So thank you. Mr. Roth?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to remind the city attorney and clerk's office that at the last workshop, we had agreed to move on the Point Pleasant Snyder lawsuit. What we need is an ordinance. It's creating a park and setting hours, posted hours, and so we could start on replacing the fence and landscape. So it's officially in a council meeting. If there needs to be a vote, we can do it now. If not, we're fine.
It is underway.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roth. Mr. Sanders?
Yes, well, forgot what I was gonna say. Councilman, I've now been, I have a lot of doctor's appointments, getting old. And I went to my cancer doctor, and I have now been cleared of free of cancer. So that's the good part.
God bless you.
So now that I've taken care of the downstairs, I need to take care of the upstairs, and I have now eye surgery. I know, it made you laugh anyway. So I have trouble seeing, like Mr. Perry, you're a blur, but you was a blur when you came in here, so I don't know if that's changed or not. So keep the good work up. I saw in the council corner that Mr. Roth was one of the only public officials I've seen to date that asked everybody to get vaccinated. I congratulate you on that, and I wish more public officials would do that because it's scary out there. The only problem is I had trouble reading it. It was, I don't know if it was my eyesight or it's because your corner has been shrinked or what, but I did recognize the black hair. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. And since you had brought that up, I'll start with that. I talked with Dr. Bency. Mr. Roth had asked me, I talked to her again this morning. And obviously, almost at every meeting that we've ended, I've asked to get vaccinated. You know, it's your choice, but go from there. So I'm still saying that. We're going to be working through some situations with the administration here and HR to do some things to hopefully incentivize some of the things we're going to do, as well as Dr. Bency did offer to send people to any department, come in and have, you know, the vaccinations available, you know, so make it easier. Because I think a lot of the younger people, I know I've got 2 of them, the kids, some of it is more of convenience, and not that they don't want the shot. They just, sometimes if it's convenient, they'll walk in and get it. So I think that's an important thing, and I think some recent events that have happened, some people are getting a little bit more energized to do that. So I agree with that 100%. It's your choice, but I would suggest that you get it to help in future. So, and Dr. Bency said the state was doing some reports that they stopped, but her department is going to start doing some more and closer zip code oriented, and she was going to send that to me. So we have that. One of the things came up earlier too was about, we used to have rowers. We're talking about the docks. We used to have rowers. Well, funny thing is yesterday I had a group of people come in and talk to me. They said we used to have rowers on the river, but we also had a dock on the river they could go to. That dock disappeared. And there's a pylon with an orange cone on top of it. Tides up, you don't see it. Tides down, you see it. So there may be an opportunity. They would like to do some regattas on our river, more of a smaller type scale for some of the companies. They're over in Fort Hammer now, but they would like to try to bring that back. So that's kind of a perfect segue. You know, they're going to get me some more information and kind of see how the next little time goes. So that was very interesting. Police and fire, yesterday, obviously, was the first day of school. The police department did a great job I was out with some of them, that we were giving backpacks out to kids that maybe walked up, didn't have a backpack. I think we had over 100 plus backpacks, and even I was at Miller, gave one out and left the rest for the school because principal did say that sometimes kids will come in later and they won't have them. But it was just fun seeing the excitement of being back in school regularly compared to the last year and a half. But our police department was at all the city schools. Fire department had people out, you know, just kind of reminded people to start slowing down again. That's the biggest issue is, you know, slow down, pay attention. And, you know, I don't think most people try to go fast through school zones. They just forget. So please pay attention to that and go through it. One last thing I want to bring up, and it kind of comes up with some of the things that we're doing that I had asked to be brought up a couple of months ago. And we had said that through this council that we were going to wait and get Mr. Perry on board. But some of the function, the way the city works, is some of, I think, because of our org chart. And you know, Mr. Perry and I have talked a lot about most of the things that come up over the last 3 to 4 weeks. And, you know, I believe it's my goal to bring things up and then at the pleasure of the council. And, you know, and one of the things Mr. Perry and I have talked about quite a bit, and I try to leave about 2:30, 3 o'clock because I can give him a lot of stuff all day. And, you know, again, I don't want to overwhelm him, but, you know, I think he's up to the task at bringing things up, and then wordsmithing through them and trying to bring this council, that information and be a team. And that's important to me as far as our whole departments as well as everything, to be a team up here. And again, we don't always have to agree on everything exactly, but we want to wordsmith through it. So I would like to see the org chart, and again, if we gave Mr. Perry everything he wants, as Mr. Roth would know, we'd have to raise taxes right away, but.
Is that a motion?
Yeah. I don't carry that. So. No, and I again, you've known me for all the years I've been there. I'm not for that, but I believe it's going to take 3 to 5 year plan, and I've asked for that also. What's our plan? Fire trucks. We know that's a plan. Now let's come up with that plan. I was impressed with the fire department. I've seen that book before. I never understood it as much as today. So there is a plan, but it's how we implement it and how we go forward. And that's going to be on Mr. Perry's back to say, how do we get this department, that department in order? And I'm excited, and the people that have asked me, I'm excited about Mr. Perry and moving forward. And I think he's got a great opportunity, and we are in a great place right now. Let's not screw it up. And we have that thing. So, and I appreciate everybody and the support. From there, we'll go to department heads. We'll start with Mrs. Melton.
Nothing to report.
Okay. Jim? All right. Mrs. Singer? Anything else? No. All right. Chief? You already talked a lot.
Yeah, you had a lot of time.
Most FaceTime in the whole time I've been here, so.
Keep it short.
No, first
3 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, hit the button. No, thanks. I appreciate you guys approving that. It goes a long way with us. Something that we've sorely missed and needed. So with that, sincerely, I appreciate that. And the guys, it goes a long way for morale. Yeah, we've got our guys at the schools, zones and everything sitting out there. They see a fire truck, they'll slow down. And the other thing is keep an eye on the storm. We've got that this weekend. Right now, it doesn't look like it's going to be that bad, but you never know. Anything that's coming right in our front yard, and we'll keep a close eye on. But other than that, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Chief?
Yeah, we have one.
Thank you, Mr.
Special
Mayor.
meeting.
Echoing what the mayor was saying about the backpacks, I gave out 15 at Ballard yesterday myself. So, one thing I'd like to compliment the school board on, though, and all their personnel, at least at Ballard, was, and for all the schools in the city, we had no reports of missing children. After, because that's usually what happens. We always make sure our detectives, our officers are waiting for that first report of a missing child, which usually has always just been somebody gets on the bus instead of walking and things of that nature. And Councilman Roth, as a resident of Point Pleasant, I appreciate your efforts long-standing efforts on that project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else before I go to Mr. Perry?
Thanks for the kind words, Mayor. Just real quick, I just want to recognize Tom Kelly.
Can you come up to the microphone just so
I just
I'll
wanna
hear it from my
recognize
wife?
a
Couldn't hear
couple
what he was
folks,
saying.
Tom Kelly and Linda, who've just been doing a bang-up job. And as we come into budget, you guys have a lot of really good people, and you'd mentioned, where we're at and where we want to go. There's great opportunity, and the resources here can get it done. So thanks for that, but I certainly wanted to personally thank them for the efforts they've been putting in to help me with the things that I start with, which is the finance and budget stuff.
Yeah. And that's obviously, it was a short transition till you came on, but they helped me a lot in those couple weeks to keep things going. So again, thank you for what you've done. Yeah.
You thank me?
About me. About me.
Love you all.
Yeah. Johnette, anything for the good of update on Realize Bradenton? That's why we're going through the final part of it. You don't have to. It's no pressure, but yeah, no. So that's the end. Little final citizen comment. Nope. All right, you don't have to. I'm just you sat through the whole thing, so.
We have another meeting after.
I know.
this.
You don't.
So.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, so all right. Anything else for the good of the order? Anything else? We'll be adjourned.
We get a 30-minute break, correct, Mr.
Yeah,
CRA
30
Chairman?
minutes. I mean, we're not doing the 1:15, right?
I'm sorry.
You set this meeting up to do it 30 minutes
I thought it was
after this
30.
meeting.